the fortress of the Flying Eagle. Several men from Gao's family beat the unfortunate man with their feet and reproach him for his arrogance. Gao Xiaolun beats the poor man with a stick and cries out why he is silent. The blows continue to pile up, and the rioters question why young Master Lu is now silent. People on the outside recognize the unfortunate young man. It's Lu Xinchen. He might get beaten up. This young man's father was treated badly. Gao Xiaolun says that this world is not permanent. Now Lu's family is kicked out of the Flying Eagle Fortress, and the young man will live in poverty. The boy was lying unconscious when a passerby approached him. Gao Xiaolun said that this dog should not be paid attention to. Right from the sky, a sudden pillar of light descended on the young man. Everyone beating Lu bounced aside in surprise. It was like lightning. Everyone thought it was the ancestors of the Lu family who were angry. Zhao Xiaolun shouted the loudest. He said he wasn't afraid of heaven's punishment. He added that he just killed a dog. Does anyone around here want to join him? The Gao family dealt with the thief of the Flying Eagle Fortress. The young man lay there, not knowing if he was still alive. He didn't realize what fortress he was talking about. Everything hurt, as if all his bones were broken. Lu Xinchen came to his senses and realized that this was not the world of immortals. He must have been reborn. The young man imagined himself on the edge of a precipice in front of numerous warriors. One of the warriors offered to surrender. Princess Ceylin was betrothed to the young master Ji Yaozong. He failed to obtain the Tianfu kingdom, but he could still survive if he returned with the military. The young man only laughed in response and said it sounded silly. Then the young man shouted that he had done such shameless things, taking his wife away from him and destroying his meridians. Guy added that the warriors don't need to kill him. In his thoughts, the young man motioned for Ceylin to wait for him. The young man thought that he must repay all wrongdoers. The hero turned around to face the cliff and jumped into the abyss. The warriors who saw this shrieked in surprise. The young man shouted, "Blood for blood!" This is the continent of Tianfu. Two races occupied it. They were barbarians and humans. They competed all the time. The real owner of Lu Xinchen's body is a young master of the Lu family from the Flying Eagle Fortress. His father died in the war against the barbarians. So did the Lu family's army. Since that period, the family has been broken up. The people of the Flying Eagle Fortress did not repay the Lu family in any way. Lu Xinchen was treated like trash, being poisoned because he couldn't cultivate. Everyone was bullying the young man. In the end, Lu Xinchen was beaten to death. Zhao Xiaolun thought the guy was faking and told him to keep beating him. The boy, bleeding and unable to open his eyes, said he shouldn't be beaten. Otherwise, everyone would be in trouble. Zhao Xiaolun lifted the guy up by the scruff of his neck and asked how the guy dared to talk so impertinently. The young man smiled in return. The young man poked the villain with his finger. Zhao Xiaolun flew far upwards with a scream. His partners watched their boss's flight with fear. Lu Xinchen rose to his feet, shook himself off, and walked over to his assailant. He lay bleeding on the ground. The guy asked if the creep knew what death was, and kicked the scoundrel in the head. The young man turned to the dumbfounded ringleaders and told them to pass the Flying Eagle to everyone in the fortress. Lu Xinchen goes back. The young man entered the fortress. Lu's family was once very talented. It could stand up to the barbarians. It was sad that such an elite family had gotten to this point after they were killed in battle. A servant, Uncle Li, came up to the young man and cheerfully told him that the young master had returned. The servant was surprised that the young man was injured. He assumed that it was the Gao family's pranks and wanted to go to deal with them. Uncle Li said that once upon a time, the Gao family was nothing compared to the Lu family. The old man kept wailing that it was all his fault. He was ashamed in front of Lu's ancestors for letting the young master experience such suffering. The young man said in response that he was fine, and he decided to restore his talent while he was here. The old man couldn't believe his ears. It was not for nothing that they had suffered so much. The young master hasn't dishonored his ancestors. He hasn't lost face in front of you. The young man thought how good it was to have such a faithful servant. The boy interrogated Uncle Li. "What do you mean, long suffering?" Gao Chunfeng, the eldest son of the Gao family, said that he was going to break the guy today. There was no one else left. Lu Xinchen said that news travels very fast. Why did Cheng Feng come to avenge that trash? Thought to himself, this body has no achievements. If you just go all out, nothing good would come out of it. Chen Feng's servant shouted for the guy not to be impertinent to his master and ordered him to kneel down. Uncle Li pushed the boy away and told him to be more careful. The old man pretended not to hear. Lu Xinchen intercepted the servant's weapon that he was threatening. The guy clearly has a clan matured on how to fight back against the aliens. The young man said threateningly, the last person to speak to him like that. And there followed a powerful blow at the insolent servant. The upstart certainly didn't expect this turn of events. He flew far back. He had no chance of escape. Lu Xinchen decided that this servant was finished for good. Chen Feng watched all of this without getting off his horse. Everyone was surprised. They knew that the young man hadn't cultivated. How could this be possible? It turns out that the Flying Eagle Fortress was giving him resources at everyone's back. Chen Feng didn't want the Lu family to come back. We should have cut off her grass and roots. Uncle Li called all of his own to protect the young master. The old man saw that Lu Xinchen had shown his skill. Now the Gao family won't let him go so easily. The boy told Uncle Li not to worry. The Gao family wouldn't even be able to injure him. The old man countered that Chen Feng has a 6th level martial arts cultivation. We are no match for him. The old man said that he wouldn't survive if the young man was injured. How would he face his ancestors on the way to Shuangquan? Chen Feng laughed and said, "Old man Li shows enviable loyalty." He was touched. Chen Feng said that he would allow them to bow down to him 3 times a day, and he would just destroy all the other members of the Lu family. We'll destroy Xingchen's cultivation and save him from a bad life. Chun Feng decided to make the young man a useless person to live in a world where his entire family is destroyed and his heart is ruined. Old man Li muttered that the man wouldn't be able to escape. He got into a fighting stance in readiness to fight back. But at the last moment, something in him snapped and he was ready to kneel before Chen Feng. Lu Xinchen rushed towards the old man and shouted at him not to kneel down. The guy pounced on Chen Feng in a rage. Toth tried to fend off the attack. After the collision, the young men both flew off the horse and fell to the ground. Chen Feng was surprised. How did this become possible? This is the cultivation of the 6th stage of martial arts. Lu Xinchen said that Gao Chengfeng had intimidated too many people step by step. Is he really going to keep doing this? The young man was ready to stop this injustice right here and now. A spark of hatred flashed in his eyes, towards the likes of Gao Chengfeng. Lu Xinchen angrily moved on the offender for pressuring people and intimidating them greatly. Now the young man is ready to become ruthless. The guy made the decision to attack the enemy. He thought that this secret skill, grasping the basics, takes life but improves ability. Although there was no limit, time was running out and he had to defeat the enemy as soon as possible. Chen Feng said that Lu Xinchen thinks that he can be a worthy opponent after using a secret skill to reach the 6th stage of martial arts. He is wrong. The young man shouted out on the run, telling Cheng Feng not to take wishful thinking for granted. The young men finally fought in hand-to-hand combat. The energy of their punches was so great that sparks were flying from their blows. Lu Xinchen thought that Gao Chengfeng deserved to be the first of the young generation martial arts geniuses from the Flying Eagle Fortress. A palm with all his strength couldn't defeat him. Cheng Feng shouted that the young man was behaving quite well. Maybe in the future he would have a chance to win. But to prevent that from happening, the warrior decided to deal with the boy right now. The Mad Python becomes the dragon of the Gao family. Lu Xinchen knew that the highest level of this martial art was dragon power. The young man knew that Gao Chengfeng was still a small snake. The guy very skillfully repelled the attacker's attack. Chengfeng shouted that it was impossible to break his dragon with one blow. Lu Xinchen warned against being distracted in battle. With a powerful left uppercut, the young man knocked out his assailant. Chengfeng had no chance to stay on his feet and flew far backwards. With a rumble, the enemy landed on his back, breaking through a piece of wall. The unfortunate man lay motionless, blood oozing from his head. Our hero calmly left the battlefield, while everyone around him was saying that Gao Chengfeng had been slaughtered by young Master Lu. Lu Xinchen said to tell the old man of the Gao family that he had massacred his 2 sons, and is willing to wait at this place for revenge. Everyone ran away in fear, shouting that they would definitely pass on the message. Lu Xinchen coughed up blood. Old man Li rushed to his aid. The guy wiping up the blood said he was fine. He won't let Lu's family suffer any more problems like this. The long-sighted Uncle Li suggested that the young man, as long as he practiced hard, get married, as soon as the girl from the Wei family returned. The old man rubbed his hands together and concluded that the good days were returning for his master. A memory came back to the boy. A girl from the Wei family. This is Wei Wuxuang. They should have been married since they were kids. His body still has some remaining memories. The young man remembered walking with Wei as a child. They went to the store to buy her the most beautiful headdress. The girl was offering Lu Xincheng a look at Wu Shuang's training sword. Growing up, Wei stuck up for friend, calling him the best person in the world. Then her father decided to send his daughter to a dynasty college. The young people had to break up. Lu Xinchen thought that he was not worthy of this girl's hand. She has a unique talent. Don't think about her. All are practicing with spiritual power in their bodies. They can be divided into kingdoms. Each realm is divided into 10 levels. The young man thought that by transitioning between levels, he would be able to reach the Tiangong realm. And the strongest level of the Tianfu stage was the 8th level of the Shenlou realm. 3 days later at the Lu's family home, The first elder of the Lentil Building, Tang Cheng, says that Mr. Lu should give the secret skill to him. The chief elder of the White Tiger Hall, Xu Zhen, says that all the things the hall gives to Mr. Lu are real gold and silver. The guy thought about the fact that everyone knows he has a unique skill, and many sects want to pull him to their side. The third said that Lu Xincheng was born in the Flying Eagle Fortress. The fortress is kind to him. If the guy gives the secret skill to him, he will ask the master of the fortress to solve all the issues with the Gao family. Then Lu's family will be able to return to the fortress. The guy laughed and said he remembered his origins. But Lu Xincheng also has a skill that kept him from being slaughtered on the street. The young man said it's unconscionable to bring him to your side. It's crossing all boundaries. The guy said he invited them all over to see the spectacle. Someone restlessly began to call Lu Xincheng outside. The guy decided to go out and see who he was crossing. Everyone came out of the building and shouted that it was the 7th stage of martial arts, moving like lightning. De Xincheni looked at it calmly at first. Then he started walking towards me, speeding up all the time. And now he is already fiercely rushing at the comer, shouting that he has waited so long for this meeting. It was a member of the Gao family. He shouted that no one could threaten to kill his family. Now he was going to tear that rascal boy to shreds. The lad was determined to fight back against the enemy. Old Man Gao summoned his battle dragon to his aid. Together they represented an indestructible force. The old man directed powerful energy at his opponent. The guy wasn't sweet, but he blocked his opponent's hardest punches. One of the Lu family's guests said that he would help the kid. Although his secret skill is good, but it is not a rival to Gao Jianhui. For that, he asked the kid to give his skill to the White Tiger Hall. The elders prepared to defend the young man and fight back against Old Man Gao. The third guest stopped them and told them not to interfere with other people's work. Gao Jianhui is unstoppable. It's better to join him to deal with Lu Xincheng and prevent these secret martial arts from falling into the wrong hands. The situation was getting very bad for the young man. The three guests were having an argument with each other. The guy took the fight to Old Man Gao. Old Man Gao threw furious punches and shouted curses at the young man. Guy kept blocking his opponent and preventing him from being effective. The opponent's clots of energy were blowing everything around them now and then. Lu Xincheng was lying motionless near the ruined wall. The little girl cried with fear and clung to her mother. The guest looked at the woman with an appraising gaze. No one wanted the child to get hurt. The old man shouted for the girl to be quiet immediately. The baby continued to cry with even more force. Lu Xincheng began to come to his senses. He opened his eyes. Rage and anger overwhelmed him. The boy jumped up, lunging towards his enemy, clenching his fist furiously. Old Man Gao was shocked. Is this a magical illusion? The guy increased his cultivation to the magic realm. The young man flew up to the old man and punched his chest with all his might, bringing all his skills to bear. It was epic. Master Gao flew far and long with a scream. Lu Xincheng tried to calm down. In the distance, the guy's guests continued to argue with each other. The young man, watching them scrambling around, shouted at them to get out of here. They wouldn't get his secret skill in exchange for their trash. He repeated it again to the three misfits to get them to walk away from his house. The guy announced that from now on, anyone who gets in his way, they will be destroyed at once. There will be no favors. And to make sure everyone knows, now everything had changed in Lu's family. The young man wasn't feeling well. Old Man Li brought the boy some medicine. It's been a whole week, but his strength hasn't returned yet. The cough was still bloody, but the guy said he was fine. You don't have to worry so much. The young man thought that he had given his best effort in the last battle. He doesn't have chi anymore. A small pool can't raise a dragon. To save Salen, you have to reach the Tiangong realm at the very least. He's not that good at martial arts. We'll have to leave everyone as fast as possible. The young man knew he had to be strong. An elder and a young man are traveling on the back of a huge bird. Now they've come to a noble house. To Feng Fu, the head of Chilean City. The master said that an elder from the Mujun family came to his humble home. He was very interested. The old man said he had one request, so he came to his father-in-law. The landlord said that the groom, Shuaga's betrothed husband, has always been a drug addict. No one knows where he gets his secret skills, and added that things are in full swing now and it won't be easy to agree to throw it away. The old man said that one should not underestimate the strength of the Mujun family. Feng Fu said that he was very interested in this strange Lu Xincheng. Previously, he had massacred the head of the Bajong clan. The young man became very angry when he heard this. He shouted loudly, how could this happen? Isn't this Lu Xincheng a pawn of the 8th step of martial arts? What's the problem with killing him? The old man said that Chief Wei's worries were not unreasonable, but he came to solve all the problems. Everything will be fine if he backs off, and vice versa. If Lu Xincheng is dealt with, the engagement can be cancelled. Old Man Li told the young master that his relatives had come. Yudo Wei Wushuang, that girl who went to the Imperial College. Memories come flooding back to the young man. The girl tells him that her father is sending her to college, and they'll have to part ways. The boy decides that the young lady has always been kind to him. Too bad her father likes to be an overly powerful man. The guests approached Lu Xincheng. The guy knelt in respect and said he was glad to see the mayor of the city. The old man said they had a gift for the young master. The guest told Xincheng to take advantage of it. Their young master is always so extravagant. The guy was very surprised. The young man thought that the guests were not as simple as they wanted to appear. The old man asked why he didn't open the gift. There was a pill in the box. It's a Dian pill, the old man said. It has the effect of strengthening and cultivating Yan. Its use is very simple. It just needs to be swallowed. Lu Xincheng thought it was very suspicious to give him a pill without a reason. The old man added that if one took the pill, the ability to cultivate much faster would appear. The young man thought that if he took this pill along with his medicine, he would die immediately. Lu Xincheng decided that this old man wished for his doom. The boy knew that this old man was very strong, and he couldn't fight any of them since he was still very weak. The boy thanked the guests and said that if he reached the magical realm, he would remember their kindness. The young guest looking at Lu Xincheng thought that this guy was not worthy of young lady Wu Shuang. The old man said he had a gift from his master for young master Lu. The young man said that he did not know his master. The old man replied that his young master was Mu Jun Qiu, the third duke of the Mu family in White Perfect City. He was chosen by the Sun and Moon Divine Sect and became a novice of the outside world with Miss Wu Shuang. The guy wondered, what kind of divine Sun and Moon sect is this? The interlocutor replied that the Sun and Moon Divine Sect was the largest in this area. Even the Fortress of the Flying Eagle is not comparable to it. Lu Xincheng asked what his master wanted in return for his gift. The old man said that everything would be clear when the young man read the scroll. The scroll said that Uncle Wei wanted to break the engagement. The young man realized that the weakest feeling in the world was the heart. The young alien began to demand that Lu Xincheng immediately sign the document. He added that his young master has great power and wealth. He has a unique talent and good looks. The young man also added that Mrs. Wu Shuang and their young master are both attractive and perfect for each other. The young man thought sadly that it was better to marry a rich, strong guy and have a better future than to follow a piece of trash. The alien told Lu Xincheng to take a second look at himself. He's not worthy of that girl. No need to ruin her future. Lu Xincheng began to get very angry. He didn't like the words of his interlocutor. The guy said they really are completely different people. Lu Xincheng sadly said that they were strangers from now on and put a bloody seal on the document. The boy sat there and felt sad. He was worried that he wouldn't be able to improve as quickly as possible. Lu Xincheng thought that the divine Sun and Moon sect sounded beautiful. If he could get there, it would help him improve his strength. Uncle Li brought the young master some things. When the old man heard what had happened, he cried. He said that these heartless people were not interested in affection and mutual relations. Lu Xincheng retorted that she was deworthy to be with such a young man, and added that his wife would be 1,000 times better than Wei Wushuang. The boy, bidding his uncle farewell, said that these old thieves were deluded, and they'd meet soon. The boy whispered something in the old man's ear. Uncle Li liked it. The boy said to let Uncle Li let them know he wasn't a softened persimmon. The boy, left alone, began to think over the further plan of his actions. He pondered that the people in this dimension have a small misunderstanding. They think that taking the Daewon pill with a hardened body will lead to death. In order to prevent that from happening, we need to add drowsy Lundan to it. The tremendous strength of the Daewon Dan would become calm and lasting, which would be the most effective way to improve one's strength to the magical realm. Someone came into the room and apologized for the disturbance. He asked if Lu Xincheng was really going to die. He was answered that it was true. The young man overloaded himself with secret skills, and now he is very weak. Everyone is looking for life support medicine for him. The interlocutor replied that this was good news. When the guy dies, his property, his family, and his secret skills will pass to him. In that case, we should hurry up and send soldiers to surround the house. He also added that Lu Xincheng is the son of his good brother. There's no need to bother him when he's dying. Even if his engagement is cancelled, Lu Xincheng thought that the city leader was certainly smart, but his end would come soon. 20 days later, the warriors were still standing outside Lu Xincheng's house. They wouldn't let anyone see the young man on orders from the head of the city. But everyone knew what the troops were here for. The guests said that now the head of the city showed his true face. One of the warriors remarked that it was brave to insult the head of the city, but it is reckless and disrespectful. The guests said that they were not afraid of the warriors, as they were very tough themselves, and a fight ensued. Old Man Li walked over to the young master and said that they were figuring things out outside again. Lu Xincheng said that it was good and let them fight for a couple days. Wei Fengtian had already lost a lot of warriors to deal with other families. Young thanked his uncle for his help in keeping the family safe. Now the young man decided it was time to meet them. The guy thought that a 5th level of martial arts was enough to deal with them. When our hero appeared on the evidence, everyone saw that it was divine level, so Lu Xincheng is still alive. One of the guests asked, "What is the guy going to do?" Lu Xinchu jumped very high from his seat. He asked those present what they wanted him to do. Lu Xincheng blamed the interlocutor and said that he was ungrateful. When his father died in the confrontation with the barbarians, he struck him when he stood by him. The guy added that they only need him when he's useful. When not needed, he could easily be beaten up on the street. The young master called his interlocutor a shameless bastard. Another guest was told by Lu Xincheng that he was following the trend and forgetting the good things. When his family fell, everyone yelled at him. They threatened to kill him if he didn't share his secret skills. The guy also blamed the person who made him cancel the engagement and hurt him by doing so. Hypocrisy and ignorance all around. Lu Xincheng intends today to repay all his ancestors who died in the war and his soldiers who suffered humiliation. Lu Xincheng became a ghost who sowed doom among his enemies. There was no escape from him. The survivors rushed to the sides, shouting that Lu Xincheng was a ghost taking their lives. Chaos and doom swirled around. The young warrior was leaving the battlefield, leaving only corpses behind him. He said that before you do anything, you should think carefully about the consequences. Lu Xincheng continued and said that the heads of the city, Eagle Fortress, Sparrow Fortress, and White Tiger Fortress, should all bow down to his house. Everyone in the neighborhood was startled at what they heard. The city mayor realized that Lu Xincheng had personally massacred many 4th-level martial artists. Who is he? Lu Xincheng thought that there was more to come soon. Lu Xincheng continued to crush all of his enemies, sparing no one. Everyone who threatened him, who did wrong to his family, who hypocritically pretended to be a friend, all got what they deserved. The young man was willing to do anything to see justice for his family. The guy got to the head of the city. Naturally, he started begging for mercy too. Said he was his father's half-brother. That he shouldn't be treated like that. Justice. It's the same for everyone. That's why the mayor got his share too. A hard blow to the forehead put an end to their disagreement. Lu Xincheng said that he is not crazy like some people. He told the mayor he could ignore the safety of the city and those who fought for it. Lu Xincheng said he wasn't like that. He's leaving now. But when he returns, if it turns out that his family has been mistreated, he will immediately stop caring about the safety of the people in the city. And everyone involved in bad things will be dead. The mayor tearfully nodded affirmatively. The next day our hero began to pack for the road. He knew that he had no place here where he could improve. Lu Xincheng said that he had established a route to Lujia and could now walk safely. The young man left a note for Uncle Li in which he wrote that he was going to practice demonic spine. And then came the time when, following the route, the guy hit a demonic ridge. He thought that a place like this must be crawling with monsters. It is filled with murderous chi. In his past life, he cultivated a high-level body training skill called Dragon Magic Skill. This skill requires the blood and courage of a beast. The guy decided that this demonic ridge was a good place to practice body training. This cave is pretty good, he thought. It's hidden well enough. At night, monsters behave rampantly. It's better to find a safe place to avoid an accident. The boy had various thoughts about the girl. He was mentally talking to her. "Sister, it's dark in the woods. There are monsters. I can protect you." The boy noted to himself that the monsters hadn't found his cave, and he himself did not want to provoke them. It was time to look around. The young man looked out of the cave. Lu Xincheng saw the powerful rhino catching up with the people running as fast as it could straight towards his cave. The guy decided that this was bad. Even if the rhino didn't find him, it would be very dangerous to break into this cave. He decided he had to do something about it. Our hero looked out of the cave and shouted to the young men to turn toward him. The girl was overjoyed when she realized there was a chance of rescue. The boy thought that the cave wouldn't help him avoid the rhino's attack. But if the monster went that way, he could lure it farther away. The trio managed to hide in a cave. Lu Xincheng said he saved them. But if they wanted to set him up, like pushing him out of the cave as a decoy, he would deal with them without ceremony. The guys started thanking him for the rescue, telling him not to be so suspicious. The rhinoceros, eyes glittering maliciously, contemplated how to lure his prey out of the cave. He may have been working on a plan of attack. Lu Xincheng saw that this rhino had very rough skin and powerful muscles, quite a strong body. With his current skills, it would be difficult to overpower this animal. The boy decided to give it a try and went straight to the beast. The guy's eyes glinted like a hunter's. The rhinoceros roared, but did not attack. The animal apparently gave up the hunt. It turned around and ran leisurely into the forest. Lu Xincheng stood with his eyes closed and did not move. He was asked where the rhinoceros was. Did he run away? The young man didn't answer. The girl frowned as she didn't get an answer. The boys joined the conversation and asked if their savior was deaf. Their sister has already asked the same question several times. It's a nerve not to answer them. Lu Xincheng finally told them that they must be blind or deaf, since they couldn't figure it out themselves. One of the brothers shouted that this fellow dared not brag in front of them. If he continued to behave like that, we would have to cut him up with a sword. The second brother stopped him and told him that it was already nighttime. There are plenty of monsters around. If this cave is destroyed, they will all be in danger again. One of the young men said they hold no grudge against him. They are grateful for his kindness. And if they meet again somewhere in the future, they will also express great gratitude. Right now, it's best to avoid conflict. Our hero asked if it was true that they came from the divine sect of the sun and moon. The brother and sister were outraged for some reason. The third told them to be quiet and introduced them. Lu Xinchen, younger sister Che Jiyun. The brother's name is Lan Feng. He himself introduced himself as Ji Yuman. And they are all disciples of the sun and moon divine sect. Lu Xinchen dreamed and decided that he needed to become strong as soon as possible and return to heaven. A powerful clan must have rich resources. It is not easy to go alone. The young man asked the boys how he could become a disciple of their sect. He must find a way to join them and improve himself with their resources. The girl said that students were accepted into this sect under harsh conditions. Family heredity, strength, and aptitude all mattered. A boy like him with 5 martial arts could hardly pass the selection process. Lu Xinen said that he really needed to get there and should still try to qualify. The older brother of the trio added that their sect maintains some distance compared to Rain Pavilion. Lu Xincheng said, okay, if it's that hard. He thought their sect was awesome, but apparently it wasn't. The brothers became nervous at such words, but the young man asked them not to shake the air. Big Brother said that every year on June 6th, the sect recruits new students. Today, it's the 3rd of April, so there are less than 2 months left. Lu Xincheng thought that he had time to prepare. He said goodbye to the young men and packed for the road. The girl called out to him. She asked why he was going to go into the woods. What would he do there? The boy looked at her in silence. He stood with his eyes closed and answered nothing. The girl, resenting his silence, said that many guys dream of talking to her. The guy decided that this girl was very opinionated. The brothers said that the sister shouldn't be angry with such a poor man. Let her go wherever she wants. They will further carry out the task and look for the destination on their own. The girl said they have very little knowledge of how to behave in the woods. This guy has a good sense of direction. It wouldn't be a bad idea to follow along. The youngest of the brothers called Lu Xincheng a tightwad and said that he would negotiate with him himself. He pulled our hero by the sleeve and told him to show them the way. That's what their little sister wants. The brother offered the young man a reward for it. He added that if Lu Xincheng cooperated with them, this huge bead would move to his pocket. The young man threw his brother's hand away and the pearl flew to the ground. The brother roared with anger. Lu Xincheng said, how can an educated person make worldly money a treasure? In his understanding, the night pearl is used in illumination. And he added, as for money, he has plenty. And he offered to take his treasure and get out. The brother shouted with resentment that he was a penniless poor man, and he could only boast. The older brother started to cover the younger brother's mouth and told Lu Xincheng not to listen to him. He added that they really need to get into the forest. If Lu Xincheng helps them, they will, upon their return, introduce him to the Sun and Moon Divine Sect. And then they could all become brothers. The young man closed his eyes and thought about it. Then he said he agreed. Half a day later, the company approached the waterfall. The girl really liked this place, and there were no monsters to be seen. She asked Brother Lu if she could stay here for the night. Lu said it's best not to. If there are no monsters here, it indicates a bigger danger. It's better to set up somewhere near the trees. Big Brother urged everyone to obey Lu and find a big tree. The girl stood her ground. She really wanted to spend the night in such a romantic place. They could leave on their own, but she would stay here. My younger brother picked up and said he was staying too. It would be more comfortable to sleep here than among the branches in the trees. The older brother didn't like this discordant decision-making. The girl asked one of her brothers to build her a pool. She's going to take a bath, but young men shouldn't peek, especially this poor man. Lu Xincheng said that he especially didn't need it. Younger brother said to get the boys out of here quickly. This is where the women's locker room is going to be. The older brother said that the younger one should also leave so that there would be no trouble in the future. Lu Xincheng said that he understood and would go find another place to rest. The young man found himself a huge tree. He didn't want to go far away in case the trio sounded the alarm. He thought there might be a huge monster in the lake. The boy climbed the tree with quick and dexterous movements. He decided to camp up here for the night, choosing a branch that was more comfortable. Decided to doze off since we'd have to spend all day on the road tomorrow. The young man woke up. He listened It seemed to him that something was going on. Suddenly, the head of a huge dragon appeared above the forest. It's Jiao, the boy thought. The young man knew that Jiao was a king among monsters. Lu Xincheng decided to run away urgently before Jiao could detect his breathing. But then he saw something. The dragon has been seriously injured. He is full of rage. Whether it's his blood or flesh, they can all serve as wonderful materials for power enhancement. The guy decided to enlist the help of these 3 cult members. We're gonna have to wait a little longer. Events took a different turn. The wounded monster discovered the trio near the lake and began chasing them with fury. Terror and fear was in the eyes of the young men. The girl ran as fast as she could away from the monster. Her brother held her hand, but then she stumbled and fell. The girl looked at the monster, and the nightmare froze in her eyes. They were eyes of doom. There was no hope of not being eaten. A young man appeared out of nowhere. He held a golden plate in his hand, which he leaned against the monster's face. The monster started screaming in pain. Flames began to appear around him. The guy shouted that he should run away quickly. The girl jumped up and rushed into the woods. The young man staring at her thought he would give his life for her, just to show his sympathy. And at the same moment, the monster swallowed that boy. Lu Xincheng watched this scene while standing in a tree. He thought, why do those who deserve to perish continue to live while the good ones perish? It's so unfair. The young man thought that those 2 would be able to utilize this Jiao's energy, but they chickened out. The boy lunged at the dragon with fury. He looked fearlessly into the beast's eyes. The monster couldn't stand the sight and was the first to lunge at the guy. Lu Xincheng thought that it was just a small snake. Jiao didn't usually attack the weak, so he must be seriously injured. The monster released a fountain of green flame. Lu Xincheng didn't stop that. Jiao walked into the lake and dived into the deep. Only his tail remained on the surface. The guy holding the gold plate in his teeth thought it was too slow. When the monster surfaced, he threw that plate right at the animal. It was a binding seal. It turned into a chain and began to wrap around the monster's body, thus restraining its movements. The animal's gaze expressed anger and hatred. Lu Xincheng held many such gold plates in his hands. He threw them all at the monster. The plates explode when they hit the serpent, causing damage to the serpent. The monster shrieked one last time and fell on the water. The young man laughed. He was determined not to miss his prey. He jumped straight into the animal's open mouth. Suddenly the beast opened its eyes. He was still alive. Lu Xincheng tried to resist, but the monster closed its jaws and went to the bottom of the lake. The girl, watching all this action from the shore, crouched down on the ground and became sad. She didn't know what she should do now. She sat on the shore alone, tears streaming down her cheek against the full moon. The youngest of the brothers, the most restless, said they should report everything to the sect. The ancient monk's house, which they must find, would have to wait. The girl agreed to come back, but said she had to bury her older brother first. We'll explain to the sect that he was killed by a dragon. The girl said he saved her at the cost of his life, and fed himself to the dragon. She remembered her brother, and a pleasant memory came over her. At this time, the dragon was swimming underwater. He started spewing flames underwater. Suddenly, his whole head started to burn. Lu Xincheng was handling the monster from within with the pearl in his hand. Finally, the monster was dead. The young man was lying on his back, a valuable treasure nearby. He thought it was true that this secret skill was seriously harming his body. His life had been shortened by 10 years. He needs to find a solution urgently. The boy saw a cave at the bottom of the lake. It was the cave of that monster. It's a great place to cultivate. Holding the orb in his hand, he knew he had gotten a great dragon elixir. This dragon is full of treasures, blood essence and bone marrow. All these treasures will help him practice dragon as a magic skill. He was going to taste it all. The guy decided to carve up the monster's carcass. He took out the dragon blood essence and decided to smear it all over his body. It would help him get his precious body back. Lu Xincheng did so, and poured the contents of the vial onto himself. His whole body itched and burned like after nettles. He fell down and started screaming in pain. His body began to blister with blood. He lay there, patient and thinking of Silen. Just wait for him. He'll be stronger. A month and a half later, the young man was strong and healthy. He was meditating in the lotus position. Nothing could disturb him. His gaze was confident, his eyes expressed determination. The body regained its former strength and flexibility. The force of the impact increased manifold. Lu Xincheng said that the first skill of the magic dragon is striking. Now it is the strength of its body. Also, his cultivation level had increased to the 7th level of martial arts. This was a necessary quality when encountering the Sun and Moon Divine Sect. Tavern, the Three Gudgeons. The speaker says that the passers of this year's Sun and Moon Divine Sect exam have reached the highest level in the past years. The exams this year are not what they used to be. This year will be different. Everyone started asking what changes had taken place. Someone asked for an update on these changes. It was a stranger with his headdress lowered so that one could not see his face. Everyone thought it was some old man wanting to know the terms of the retreat. The stranger was angry at being called an old man. He lifted his headdress, and it was Lu Xincheng who was mistaken for an old man by those around him. Everyone apologized for mistaking the young man for an old man. His hair was as dry and white as an old man's. The body gives off the aura of an elderly dead man. Our hero asked if they knew the difficulty of evaluating the adepts of the inner court, or a famous person among the adepts. The interlocutor said that everyone here had heard of 3 prominent adherents of the outer sect. Leader Sanji is the leader of the Red Leaf Black Stronghold Army. He is a former bandit. 3 years ago, the sect leader subdued him and brought him back. The son of the Mujun family. There are many masters in their family. His father is a master of 9 levels of magic, Wei Wushuang. The girl was born very pretty, and she is one of the most beautiful women of the Divine Sun and Moon sect. Lu Xincheng shuddered when he heard Wei Wushuang's name, Muyun Qiulan. He remembered how blood had dissolved their alliance. The guy thought he wasn't the real Lu Xincheng, and his heart only belonged to Selena. The interlocutor asked if he still wanted to become an adept in the Sun and Moon Divine sect, and if he was willing to take the exams, despite his decrepit, exhausted body. Anyone who passes all the exams can get into the cult. Everyone started laughing at this strange man who wants to become a cult adherent. Lu Xincheng said that his physical condition is not your mind. If he has no chance of becoming an adept, do those around him have a chance? Someone in the crowd said he had a lot of chances, and he could also kick that old man's ass. The people around him started laughing at the bully. That's not what the old man meant. The bully was starting to heat up with resentment and was ready to pull out his blade already. He drew his sword and swung it, threatening retaliation. The interlocutor was calm, and cold sweat droplets appeared on his face. The bully was frightened, saying the one had a terrifying aura and eyes exuding coldness. He slipped the sword back into its scabbard. Leaving the tavern, the bully said that he would see how far he would go in joining the Sun and Moon Divine Sect. Our hero thought that he no longer had to use the invading base. Now only the puppet technique and the Rongjuan technique remained. The guy was telling the girl the news. She was surprised that he had sent Yuan Dan to Lu Xincheng. He told her not to be angry, and her father knows that. The girl was very upset that her childhood friend wanted to take her life. It's been 3 days. The young man breathed a sigh of relief. He was finally finished. He thought that although it was only an iron puppet, it would be enough to handle the survey of the small clan. When he thinks about it, not only gold and silver dolls, but also cast iron dolls can be smoothly refined. Right now, his body and cultivation are too weak. He decided to start by disguising the doll a bit. Candidates for the exam lined up in a long line. Her tail stretched far beyond the horizon. Lu Xincheng thought that there were so many people in line. We have to be patient. 4 hours passed. The sun was scorching. The queue was moving slowly. Finally, it was his turn. This crystal was for determining qualifications. Everyone's talent is evaluated. The one with the crystal glowed, shouting for joy that he had passed. So he's already a cult member. This guy didn't go home. He said he wanted to see the poor guy behind him. The examiner was very collected and serious. To Lu Xincheng, he said that he had a good result among the others, but he used secret arts. And it was pointless as he didn't have much time left. This was the end of the recruitment of adepts into the sect. The rest of us turned around and went home, hoping to return here next year. The bully told Lu Xincheng that he had tried in vain and his days were numbered. Why would an old man want to learn? Lu Xincheng returned to the examiner and said that he wanted to take the test after all. The examiner got nervous. He said the appointment was over. The young man thought that this old man's cultivation was no less than the god of the seas. All the people here are from the Sun and Moon Divine Sect. One must not act rashly. The guy came over and started apologizing, saying he wasn't from around here and didn't know the rules. The examiner said he was the 7th elder. His decision won't change. You can come back in a year. Lu Xincheng said that if he came next year, the sect would lose. The old man was surprised. The guy said he was Lu Xincheng, a true genius they wouldn't be able to meet in 100 years. The examiner listened silently to the upstart. Everyone started laughing because of this strange man calling himself a genius. The examiner said that he didn't understand such jokes. In the entire Sun and Moon Divine Sect, only a dozen people have this qualification. The young man offered to test him. The examiner decided to give him a chance. There's so much sneer in people's faces, but he's still just as firm. Either he really is a genius, or it is a determination of mind that is different from ordinary people. The examiner held out the crystal and said he was giving him a try. If he failed, he was never to come here again. Lu Xincheng agreed and placed his hand on the crystal. The crystal glowed green. The examiner said he could be an outer door adept, but his life is limited, so it's better to return home. The old man looked at the young man. The white-haired youth looked at the old man without blinking, not taking his hand away from the crystal. Everyone saw that the crystal began to change color. It turned purple. The young man did not remove his hand. The crystal turned golden. The examiner said in surprise that this guy was really a genius. But how could he achieve that? Of course such a person should be made an adherent of our sect. Everyone was amazed at how this loser could become a genius. The boy took his hand away from the crystal. The sphere continued to emit golden light. Lu Xincheng asked, since he was a genius, would they give him a chance? The old man said he would be enrolled as an adherent of the sect, but there would be no privileges during his studies. Tomorrow is the inner and outer door adept competition. We should see his skills in practice. His physical condition is really special. The young man said he is absolutely confident. Pre-selection in the divine sect of the sun and moon. The elder said that only 10 adepts would be chosen. The inner adepts will be chosen from the initial adepts. Each will have a different rating. The higher the rating, the better. In the morning, there will be 9 arenas for competition at the foot of the mountain. Lu Xincheng stood behind and watched his beloved Wei. He saw her being embraced by her new fiancé. The girl stood at the opening ceremony with her eyes modestly lowered. The elder explained all the rules and said that everyone could now disperse. Someone called out to the guy.
He heard someone looking for Lu Xincheng.
Everyone looked in his direction. The guy bowed and said that he was Lu Xincheng from Red Purification City. He greeted the elders. Wei shouted, "How can he be Lu Xincheng? He's just trash without any cultivation." The girl told the elder that this guy's name is not Lu Xincheng. He purposely wants to infiltrate the sect with some intent. The elder asked the young man who he was, for what purpose he had infiltrated the divine sect. The young man said that Ms. Wushuang is really heartless. He and the girl broke off their engagement as bride and groom. They haven't seen each other for years, only to have a double life with another man. The young man said that not only did she send him poison to kill him, now she's going to frame him. So he got in the girl's way. The girl looked at the young man with sadness and surprise. The elder asked the girl to explain everything to him. Lu Xincheng said that there is nothing to explain. His fiancé and Mu Jun love each other. That's why she wanted to break her engagement to him. And she also wanted to poison him. Tears ran down the girl's cheek. The boy said he was gifted and was able to avoid being poisoned. His father left him a secret method to save his life, but it cost him dearly. He used to be 18 years old. Now he had 10 years of life left. The examiner announced that this genius was full of hate. The girl swallowed her tears and said it was impossible. She said that Lu Xincheng was worthless trash. She didn't go back to him, but she was interested in him. He didn't have cultivation all the time. How on earth had he recently acquired the 7th stage of martial arts? The guy said that means she always knew about him, that he was humiliated and almost killed in the street, but she didn't do anything. He added that when he was young, he thought she was sincere. I didn't expect her to be a person who lived for money. Everyone started shaming the girl and saying it was indecent to behave like that. The girl cried and told everyone to be quiet. She cultivated diligently. She tried her best, but he was just useless. He couldn't train. Everyone began to speculate who was to blame for this story, and opinions were divided. The guy says he doesn't blame the girl, but he broke off their relationship. But he can't forgive her for wanting to poison him. The elder shouted at the girl to admit if that was the case. The girl crying said she didn't do it. Wei pointed her finger at the groom and said that he couldn't stand Lu Xincheng, but I couldn't stop him. The old man said it was a very despicable act. He should be thrown off the mountain for it. Mu Jun gritted his teeth and became very angry. As the young man was being led away by the servants, he shouted that Wei Wushuang was very ruthless. Now the elder wanted to decide what to do next. The second elder of the Sun and Moon Divine Sect said that they had dealt with the culprit. He didn't want to find out the rest. He turned to Lu Xincheng. According to Wei Wushuang, he can't practice. But now he has the 7th level of martial arts. How did that happen? The boy replied that he was used to being the young master of the Qilian Cheng family. But his father, Lu Tuntian, had fought against the barbarians and allowed himself to be killed in battle. He thought his uncles would help him, but it turned out that those wanted him dead. The young man added that he had to pretend that he didn't have cultivation in order to survive. Lu Xincheng went to his room. It was already late. The young man thought about what had happened today. On the way, he saw Wei Wushuang. The girl said she didn't expect him to be able to bear it after all these years. His qualifications are satisfactory. He possesses the 7th level of martial arts. Wei asked me not to blame her. When they were children, she loved him. They often played together and she protected him. But she didn't know until she grew up that his family refused and he couldn't practice. She had to find her own way. The young men stood in silence. It was pleasant for them to be near each other, as in childhood. The girl didn't know how to continue the conversation. Wei Wushuang apologized and said that if Xincheng had any problems, he could always call her for help. She would also be able to help him when she was in the sect. The young man looked at Wei with a hard stare. He grabbed the girl's arm. Lu Xincheng leaned her against the wall. The girl cried out but did not resist. He asked again, sure she was willing to help him with anything. The young lady asked what he wanted. But they can't be together. Xincheng asked if she was sure of that. What was she thinking when she came to his room in the middle of the night? The girl blushed with embarrassment and told him to get off her back. We added that she has a purple grade in the sect and is going to become the second elder's inner adept. But in memory of their childhood affection, she will help him. The young man smirked when he heard about the purple grade. The girl added that a purple grade is not a small thing. Wei said that Xincheng is only at the 7th level of martial arts. There's still a lot to aspire to. The guy left, and Wei thought he was shameless. How could he ignore her and leave without saying goodbye? The girl thought that Xincheng's reaction was natural, as he was angry at her for canceling the engagement. It was his own fault. There was no need for him to pretend, and not tell her about it. Wei decided that if he was good in the future, she would give him another chance. A certain person was watching the young ones, and she saw that this poor man was still alive. If he tells the truth, she'll be finished. It turns out that Wei Wuxuang can't control Lu Xincheng. She decided to straighten out the young man and silence him forever. Suddenly, Lu Xincheng appeared from behind. He sneaked in here. He asked who she wanted to kill. Xincheng said he found her anyway, even though he didn't take her seriously at first. Did the guy ask how she was going to deal with him? With poison incense? This is the first time he's seen a woman with such a vicious and selfish mind. The girl sank to the ground and used the forbidden technique. She cried. The young man continued and said that this time it was all her fault, and she couldn't blame anyone else. The girl, sobbing, muttered that it was all wrong. He had misunderstood everything. Many spectators gathered on the square in front of the arena, all waiting for the start of the competition. An elder said that today's competition would be in the form of a race. The other elders will be watching. Only 9 winners will remain, 1 in each arena. The first phase will now begin.
The participants of the competition lined up in slender columns.
Lu Xincheng thought that he had no chance of failure. No one would be willing to take risks for the sake of superiority and gaining power. But the guy decided he wasn't afraid of anything. The competition began and Lu Xincheng went to the starting line. He entered the arena with his opponent. The young man introduced himself and said that his name was Lu Xincheng and he had a 7th level of martial arts. The guy across the street said they are opponents now. He knows what happened yesterday, sympathizes, but will not show pity. He also reminded us that they are not allowed to accept little girls in their sect. They don't have a modicum of cultivation. This referred to the girl standing behind our hero's back. The young man told the little girl that people looked down on her from above, and from the opposite side. What is she going to do? Wei saw this little girl and wondered, why did Lu Xincheng bring this little girl with him? The girl suddenly adopted a fighting stance. Lu Xincheng's opponent told the elder that he didn't want to hurt the little girl, and his opponent brought the girl with him. This is a violation of the rules, but he couldn't even move from his seat. It was a body-locking spell. Here he couldn't help himself and collapsed right into the arena. Foam came out of the guy's mouth. The little girl stood coldly by her side. She took off her headdress. Everyone saw her big baby eyes. The elder announced that the 5th arena used the puppet technique as an auxiliary, which is not an offense. The winner is Lu Xincheng. Wei was delighted. Lu Xincheng even knows how to use the puppet. The girl was very happy to have her childhood friend around again. A young man stood victoriously in the arena. Next to him stood his puppet. The audience shouted that he was just a loser with a pale face and little life to spare. They said the guy doesn't have the strength to fight everyone. He sends a puppet for that purpose. Lu Xincheng replied that they are all very smart down there. He walked over to the most shouty one and said that anyone who hinders his progress toward his goal may not count on his mercy. The interlocutor was frightened and tears came to his eyes. Another of the spectators said that Lu Xincheng was bluffing and shouldn't pay attention to him. The next challenger approached our hero in the arena. He suggested that the contest begin at once. The young man rushed into battle without speaking. The puppet accompanied him. This went on and on. Lu Xincheng dealt with everyone who entered the arena against him. The tired guy thought that if he defeated every adept, he wouldn't be able to take out the entire crowd. The other contestants were competing in 2 or 3 bouts. He had already fought 9 fights. His strength was running low. Someone in the crowd declared that he was now ready to destroy Lu Xincheng. He entered the arena, drew his sword, and decided to attack our hero. The young man gathered his last strength, took out the golden plates, and thought to his opponent that he looked very cruel with his sword. Xincheng threw the plates towards his opponent. Each one of them, when it reached its target, exploded. The puppet rushed into the epicenter. She disappeared in smoke and flames. After a while, the doll came out of the smoke. Her hands were covered in blood. The body of the opponent lay on the arena. There was a sepulchral silence among the audience. We realized that Lu Xincheng's opponent had just been torn apart. The girl fainted from the picture that reigned in the arena. An elder appeared and asked what was going on here. Lu Xincheng apologized and said he was very tired and lost control of the puppet. He admits his guilt for the guy's death. When he rests, he will definitely regain control of the puppet. Lu Xincheng said that after fighting so many battles, he is really exhausted. The young man apologized and said he was remorseful. But such an outcome during battles is possible. Elder said to be more careful in the future. The boy recognized this. He thought that the elder was not stupid and realized that the young man was being bullied here. Lu Xincheng motioned for Jiming to enter the arena against him. He has a chance to excel. Besides, he has average qualifications. The guy didn't relent and continued to call out his opponent, calling him a descendant of the great adepts. Jiming didn't want to accept the challenge. Jiming thought that if he accepted the challenge, it would be the end for him. Lu Xincheng looked very frightening. The guy stood there not knowing what to do. Everyone around him was screaming that he shit his pants because he was scared. Jiming couldn't stand it and said that he wasn't afraid and was willing to answer the challenge. Ne Yuan appeared in the arena and said that Jiming shouldn't put himself in a difficult position because only he could defeat this Lu Xincheng. Ne Yuan added that victory would be a cakewalk for him. This would be his first step to join the Sun and Moon Divine Sect. The elder confirmed that Lu Xincheng had used a puppet in all the battles. Therefore, with the exception of the key player, there was no need to fight him. Jiming heaved a sigh of relief. Everyone had forgotten about him, and there was no need to enter the arena anymore. Lu Xincheng didn't forget and continued to challenge Jiming to a battle. Jiming shouted that no one dared to insult him and he was on his way out. But after seeing the body parts of his previous opponent Lu Xincheng in the arena, he changed his mind about getting into the fight. He turned around and with the words, "I don't care now," he rushed to run away from the arena. Everyone laughed in his wake and told him he wasn't a man. Lu Xincheng was facing the crowd when his childhood love, Wei Wuxuang, appeared in the arena. The girl said that she didn't expect Lu Xincheng to be so strong. 2 hours later, the elder announced that now that all the trials were over, only the key players would enter the ring. And he explained the new rules. All confirmed that they understood the rules. Lu Xincheng said he wanted to fight a new opponent. The man praised the young man for his courage. He likes brave people. Lu Xincheng is the second person that Ne Yuan wants to destroy. Lu Xincheng said that he is not the one who is his opponent. Wei decided that Xincheng is still angry at her for breaking off the engagement. He wants to defeat her. She said that Xincheng shouldn't blame her for the past. He shouldn't have hidden his qualifications and accomplishments. Now she doesn't want to give up on him. The girl said she'd give him another chance if he worked hard. And they'd try to start over, Ne Yuan said as he looked at Lu Xincheng from the bottom to the top. Our hero replied that Ne Yuan was becoming paranoid. Lu Xincheng said that serious people don't behave like this. The guy knew he was in for a quick fight. Wei turned away from the arena and cried. She didn't want to watch Xincheng get beaten. Ne Yuan said that he would give Lu Xincheng a happy ending. Our hero said that his rival is bragging like that because he knows that Xincheng will let him live. Wei yelled that Lu Xincheng had had enough. She had already humiliated herself because of him. Don't tell me it doesn't matter to him. Ne Yuan urged Xincheng to hurry up and finish talking to the upset girl. It was time for them to start fighting. Xincheng said it was just a noisy girl. He didn't talk to her at all. We pounced on him. Xincheng shouldn't have said that to her. The young man was also angry. He asked, "Why is Wei Wuxuang so upset? It's time for her to get out of here." The girl drew her sword in anger and decided to settle things with Lu Xincheng in the arena. She shouted for Ne Yuan to get out and not contact her today. Ne Yuan thought that Wei has the same approximate strength as him. But she has a magical weapon, the flying sword. With the magic weapon, she surpasses him. Wei flew up to Lu Xincheng and said that today he would die in her name. The elder thought that Lu Xincheng was indeed a big problem. He was a demon with outstanding abilities and exceptional talent. But if he is not accepted and other sects take him over, it could turn out badly for the Divine Sun and Moon sect. Wei Wuxuang, full of anger, intended to deal with the guy once and for all. Lu Xincheng didn't intend to attack. He casually, with 2 fingers, stopped Wei's blade a few centimeters away from his heart. The girl was amazed at what she saw. Wei Wuxuang didn't understand how it was possible to block the flying sword with her bare hands, and to do so casually. But she couldn't retreat. The girl told him to let her go. He's a bastard and she wants to destroy him. Lu Xincheng was upset by what he heard. The guy dodged and used the divine dragon and elephant technique. The young lady got a bit of a kick and her mouth was bleeding. Wei couldn't stay on her feet and fell into the arena. The blade was no longer in her hands. The girl flew far to the side, hit her head and seemed to pass out. She lay motionless in the arena, people clustered around her. The elder and Nei Yuan were astonished by what they saw. The elders shouted that the girl should be sent to the infirmary immediately. She might need a sick leave. The aides took Wei Wuxiang in their arms. The elders said that there was no more point in continuing to fight. Lu Xincheng is recognized as the strongest, but Yuan didn't argue and admitted that this time, Lu Xincheng was in first place deservedly. Elders said that's what was agreed upon. That will be the ranking. The qualifying competitions are over. All qualifiers and evaluations are now complete. He said to have all 9 adepts of the tournament winners stand in front of him. Lu Xincheng thought that in the Sun and Moon Divine Sect, the treatment of inner door adepts and outer door adepts was very different. Outer door adepts could only rely on themselves. He realized that with his talent, it wouldn't be difficult to become an inner door adept. The elder announced that Nei Yuan was also accepted into the sect as a disciple of the elders. Lu Xincheng was interested in this news. Nei Yuan said that Lu Xincheng is the strongest, so he should rightfully become a disciple of the elders. The elder announced that Lu Xincheng didn't have much time left, so he couldn't be accepted into the academy. But due to his qualifications, he is staying, but can only be an outer door disciple. The guy mentally said it was all just for her. The young man thought the dogs looked down on the humans. The guy realized that this was a gift from the divine Sun and Moon sect. He was definitely going to repay the clan in the future. Nei Yuan said that it was unfair for Lu Xincheng. We should go to the elders and discuss this situation. Lu Xincheng said there's no need to make a fuss. He's happy with everything as it is. He added that he didn't have much life force left in him, but he is still staying in the clan and spending resources on himself. It's enough for him. He thought that he was in a bad state now, and the elders could destroy him if they wanted to. Lu Xinchen read that in 8 days, the Sun and Moon Divine Sect would compete with the Zhangzhen Sect. There will be 2 stages. The winner will be honored in the Sacred Hall. The Sacred Hall is the largest clan in the eastern lands of Tianfu. Lu Xinchen couldn't even think about the Sacred Hall, if Nei Yuan hadn't given him the information. This guy turned out to be very fair. Lu Xincheng remained alone in the room. Suddenly, a young man called out to him. Lu Xincheng looked around to see who was there. It was Jiming. He came to apologize for his indecent behavior. He said that he wouldn't bully Lu Xincheng anymore. Xincheng said that since he had come to ask for forgiveness, he should bring a gift. The gift should be expensive. Jiming was angry at his interlocutor, but he didn't show it. He figured if it wasn't for the mission, he wouldn't have come here. Lu Xincheng saw the ring on Ming's finger and said it was a good gift, and he would take it. Jiming didn't expect such insolence and was very upset. He said no problem, but he had another gift. Jiming added that the adepts of the outer door are different from the adepts of the inner door, and resources are allocated in a limited way. If you want to practice, you have to do tasks and get paid. Recently, he learned about a life service. It's something that can prolong life, and he thought of Lu Xincheng. The young man said he had never heard of it. A long-lived fruit is an incredibly rare fruit. The lifespan gained from it at a time is not obvious, but you can make pills from it, and it will have an effect like the reincarnation fruit. Lu Xincheng said that this is indeed a good gift. Jiming said to meet at the foot of the mountain tomorrow morning. Lu Xincheng followed to the meeting place, and thought that he didn't even know if the long-lasting fruit was real, but it's worth a try. The young man thought he had to be careful how he behaved. You could be killed if you overworked yourself. The boy stopped. This was something he hadn't expected to see. The girl stood before him in all her glory with her head held proudly high. The boy faded his gaze and lowered his eyes. He figured that judging by the outfit, she was an inner door adept. What's she doing here? Lu Xincheng looked at the girl questioningly. The young man asked his older sister if she wanted to stop him. The girl replied that he was talking nonsense. The guy said she was incredibly beautiful, but not his type. The young lady shouted out that Lu Xincheng was ruthless. The young man replied that he did not recall any love affair between them. The girl said that she couldn't understand how her younger sister Wu Shuang could fall in love with someone like that. She called herself Gao Shiqi, and said that her sister stopped hating Xincheng after he defeated her. Gao Shiqi said that her sister sent her to find out why he was so mean. Lu Xincheng said that this is not true. Wei Wuxiang and Mu Yunqiu have feelings for each other. So why is he being called mean? The young man said that it was Wu Shuang who decided to break the engagement. The sister said he was too talkative. Gao Shiqi fiercely defended her sister and said that she had made the same mistake as many women in the world. Wu Shuang is ready to bring back the past spent together with the young man. If it were me, the sister added, I would break your legs and throw you out of the sect. Lu Xincheng said for the girl to go to her sister, and he was sick of all these relationship investigations. Gao Shiqi had in no way expected such a harsh answer from the young man. She shouted that the guy was just a petty outer door adept with level 7 martial arts. The girl decided to teach the brat a lesson. She immediately sprang into action. The unsuspecting Lu Xincheng continued on his way when the wily little sister decided to attack him from behind. But our hero was very careful, and he, using his skills and defensive energy, was able to fend off the attack and do some damage to this stroppy girl. Cao Shiki defeatedly flew to the side and fell to the ground. Lu Xincheng continued on his way as if nothing had happened. The girl snapped back and said that she wouldn't forgive the guy for today's defeat and would definitely complain to Brother Tao to stand up for her. Lu Xincheng continued on his way. It was the morning of the next day. The young man thought that the Or had already made all the preparations for his work last night, both with the cartilage balsam powders and the scaly dragon hide. Now he shouldn't encounter any difficulties on today's journey. Something caught our hero's eye. There were some young men who were figuring something out amongst themselves. Gao Shuqi complained to her brother that she had been mistreated. The young man needed to be taught a lesson. He injured her. Lu Xincheng asked the girl, why did she bring so many outsiders here? And he thought to himself that the journey would not be very smooth. Tao said he's not an outsider at all. He's a person of interest. Xincheng calmly said that no one had asked him. Why is he interfering in someone else's conversation? It's unseemly. Tao arrogantly snapped back that Xincheng was just a lowly outer door adept. How dare he speak to him in such a tone? So I'll have to teach him a lesson. There was a duel of glances between the young men like boxers after a weigh-in. The sister intervened and asked her brother not to go too hard on the kid. He's just still mad at her and blames her for breaking up with him because of her relationship with Mu Yunqiu. At that moment, a carriage pulled up. Mu Yunqiu stepped out of the carriage. Lu Xincheng thought, how come Mu Yunqiu ended up here? It's not by chance. The girl said there was no one to blame. Not everything was up to her. Her position and her clan imposed some obligations. The groom walked up to his bride, gently took her hands, and told her that he wanted to make the girl happy. At first he was upset, but then he realized that he shouldn't blame her. Besides, the elixir was really what he had planned. The girl wept. Lu Xincheng stood alone to the side. The intrigue continued. A classic love triangle. Mu Yunqiu's gaze was serious. Tao said a lack of stamina in lesser things sometimes spoils a great endeavor. Mu Yunqiu said that it was getting late and it was time to hit the road. This time, the journey to the abandoned graves would be a long one. Everyone went to the carriage. Mu Yunqiu told Lu Xincheng that the carriage did not have seats for everyone, not enough seats. The young man suggested to the guard who did not have enough room in the carriage to go with him. It was agreed. The young men dispersed in silence. The carriage left. The two walked. 7 days passed. The company reached the abandoned graves. The girl asked what Ju's brother was looking for in this abandoned place. Even at night, the girl was scared. The guy said his father's 60th birthday is coming up, and he wanted to make a present for the old man. He continued that 6 months ago, he received information that there was a tree called Devil's Tears on abandoned graves in the east. This tree has already ripened red fruits the size of a fist. He wants to send them as a gift to his father, so that he can break through the unlimited power of the 9 circles of heaven. The girl thought the Devil's Tears were a great chance. Mujin said that he had expected that the girl was aware of a lot of things. Another girl asked, "What are the Devil's Tears?" Wu Shuang replied that as a child she had studied at the Academy of the Royal House. It was there that she gained a lot of knowledge about various healing remedies. The fruit of the Devil's Tears tree is used in the creation of the Elixir of Awakening. This tree bears fruit once every 100 years, and usually the size of the fruit is much smaller. I'm surprised no one's picked these fruits yet. Maybe they're under the protection of some monster. Lu Xincheng thought that the girl was right. Getting these fruits would not be easy. There must be many people eager to get their hands on such a treasure. Our hero knew that these fruits had another wonderful property. They helped to restore the distorted striving for the true path in people below the realm of the divine sea. Tao told Xincheng to hurry up if he wanted to get the fruit. The young man thought that ignorant people are always the most fearless. And so it turned out to be. Closer to the tree, the campaign noticed that many people were already standing by waiting for the fruit. Mu Yunqiu was furious. His informant had only told this news to him. He had given up a lot for this information. Hearing the exclamation, the men turned around, pulling out their weapons. The chief among them, after assessing the campaign with a glance, said for everyone to calm down. To deal with a level 8 demonic white tiger, you need a lot more people. He continued and said that it turned out that the talented disciples of the Sun and Moon sect were following them. The young man introduced himself and said that he was He Ju Zhan, an inner disciple of the warrior sword sect, possessing 4 levels of divine power. Mu Yunqiu said he was pleased to meet you, and asked why these people were here. He Jo Jen asked who you were. No one spoke to you at all. How does a lowly disciple dare to talk to an inner door adept? Is this the custom in your sect? A servant stood up for his master and said that Mu Yunkyu shouldn't be spoken to like that. I'll have to apologize. Hijo-chan indifferently looked at this servant. The two clans began to work things out between them. Hijo-chan said to ignore the opponents and check the route again. And we should set up camp. He added he hoped the Mujun clan would not cause problems. Mujun said, "It's not worth it to stand out much in front of each other. All of them are now in abandoned areas." Mujun bowed his head peacefully. Hijo-chan called his team and said that they would now review the route and discuss tactics for tomorrow. He added that he only wanted the fruit of the Devil's Tears tree. The rest could be taken for himself. A Mujin family servant warrior said that even if you add up the value of all the trophies, they wouldn't be as valuable as the fruit of this tree. The fruit is the size of a fist. Hijo-chan said that he would then not show them the constructed and designed route because they would be able to just grab the trophies without participating in the battle. Mujin said the opponents can count on their clan for help. Hijo-chan said that the demonic white tiger was not inferior to masters with divine power of the 9th levels. If anyone tries to get to the tree while the rest of us are fighting the tiger, they will be in trouble. 2 camps were set up for the night. Lu Xincheng thought about the camp opposite. Hijujuan said that he was only an inner disciple. But the courts, by the arrangement of the tents, he was being guarded. And he's not stupid, he thinks in cold blood. He's not like a normal person. Wushuang walked up to the young man from behind and asked what he was thinking so intensely about. The girl said that she had a map of the location of the fruits that she took from Brother Q. The girl confessed that her brother called Lu Xincheng with him because he has bad intentions about him. The young man looked to see that it was indeed a map of the location of the fruits. Why did she show it? Maybe Wushuang is trying to deceive me. Why is she sucking up to me if she broke off the engagement first? The guy also allowed that perhaps Wushuang wanted to get rid of him, and thus take revenge. The girl confessed that she knows how much he hates her for betraying him. Now she wants to make amends. Maybe they can at least be friends. The young man threw the card into her hands, said he didn't need it. Guy added that he wished her a wonderful rest of her life with Chumujun. You two are worthy of each other. Wushuang cried and went to the camp. Her fiancé met her on the way and told her it was getting late and cold outside. It was time to go into the tent and rest. The girl crying said that Chu was right. Kyomuyun still didn't understand why his fiancé was crying. The guy gave her a glance and realized that she was crying because of Lu Xincheng. Kyomuyun decided that he would definitely deal with this rascal tomorrow. Everyone went to their tents for the night. Wei Wuxiang decided to undress before going to bed. She took off all her clothes. Thought tomorrow should go well. The next morning came. The young men saw that many wild animals had gathered. The beasts looked at the aliens and there was hostility in their eyes. Hijo-chan said that there was a group of demonic beasts in front of them. As soon as they get close to the mountain range, the beasts will start attacking them. We must be ready to fight. The young man added that the mercenaries would rush in first to create a distraction. At that time, they would be able to reach the mountain range. That's what happened. The beasts attacked the men. The people fought back. The adepts used their techniques and combat skills to confront the demonic beasts in their territory. And now the animals are behind us. The passageway is open. A mountain range opened up before the travelers and they saw a cave. A beast emerged from the cave, or rather its huge white paw. Everyone froze in anticipation. A very huge white tiger appeared from the cave. He roared and moved straight at the young men. The beast opened its mouth and everyone could see its huge white fangs. The roar echoed throughout the neighborhood. It was so powerful that everyone tried to cover themselves as if from the wind. Hijo-chan ordered to go on the attack according to the plan he had devised. And everyone drew their blades. Screaming, they rushed at this demonic beast. But the forces were unequal. The tiger scattered the attackers like kittens. Xiao Muyun ordered his soldiers to retreat. He said that this monster could not be defeated. All of them could die. Everyone agreed and began a chaotic retreat. Mujun began to assist in the retreat of his bride. He put his arm around her shoulders. Lu Xincheng realized that he had a chance. The young man crept stealthily toward the slain white wolf. He took out his hunting knife. He stripped and skinned the animal. The guy put that skin on himself. He got down on the ground and pretended to be a wolf. He decided that as long as there was chaos around, he would seize the moment and make his way to the ridge. The bride and groom continued to retreat with vigor. The woods were coming into view. Salvation was so close at hand. The girl looked around and realized that not everyone was retreating. She told Chu Muyun that Lu Xincheng was gone. He's gone. The groom said that the young man had left. If he ever tried to touch his bride again, he would pay with his head. He slapped his servant and said that he could not keep track of even one person. Mujin beat the servant and told him to get lost. Wushuang looked at her fiancé with consternation. Her sister stopped Chu and said it was excessive punishment. She added that Lu Xincheng could kill one of the animals and no one would know about it. Mujin interrogated what she meant. Ta replied that it was nothing concrete. It was just imagination. At this time, our brave hero was still in the skin of the White Wolf. He thought that Hee-Jo-jan and his team were currently fighting against the demonic White Tiger. They didn't care about him. In a conflict between two parties, the benefit always goes to a third party. Even in his previous life, he had never had to face such a situation. Xincheng found the secret entrance to the cave. There was a tree growing there. It was the Devil's Tears tree. There was a huge fruit on the tree. The young man was ready to pluck the fruit. He thought something was wrong. Everything living has a soul. This tree couldn't just grow to such a huge size and bear fruit of such extraordinary size. There must be something else. The young man picked up the stone. He threw a stone into the lake that was directly in front of the tree. A giant monster stingray jumped out of the water. Who would have thought there would be a stingray? Its lightning strikes are very powerful, as well as its incredibly strong gills, with the help of which it sprays out jets of water that can easily penetrate ordinary armor. The young man determined with an expert eye that it was a level 7 stingray monster. He had no chance of defeating this beast. They exchanged glances and the guy understood. Xincheng said that this thing was originally meant to be used against Qiu Muyong. It has the ability to make the human body completely soften. If used on animals, it will induce heat. It should work. The young man realized that the demonic White Tiger had been destroyed. Hee-Jo-jan and his team were already following here. Lu Xincheng decided to see how things would develop further. The whole team came running to the lake near the tree. Everyone saw the tree and wanted to pick the fruit faster. One of them commanded forward, and everyone ran toward the tree. Hee-Jo-jan, slow down your fighters. The young man only grinned. Those who touched the water were imbued with a charge of electricity. It was unpleasant and very painful. Those who didn't make it to the lake were killed by a column of water, carefully directed by a slope right at their targets. Some disappeared into the jaws of the bloodthirsty animal. The stingray showed itself out of the water, and its mouth was leaking the blood of the poor guy who had been swallowed by it. Then the animal disappeared under the water. The injured man asked Hee-Jo-jan for help. No one rescued him. The young man watched indifferently as his servant massacred the wounded man. The servant turned to Hee-Jo-jan. He called the one as the 7th elder and asked what to do now. Lu Xincheng noted that the leader is called the 7th elder of the sword sect. Hee-Jo-jan had his own plan, painted and approved in advance. The stingray floated to the surface with dead soldiers floating around it. The elder said that while he was distracting the stingray, we should stretch the nets. He said to wait for the monster to appear. Then he'll use the blood jasper bracelet attack. You don't have to hold on too long, and then you can pick the fruit. The girl on his team yelled out that the net was ready. The net was stretched and prepared to catch a stingray. The elder flew over the lake, emitting streams of energy. He threw the ring into the water and activated the secret option. A powerful stream of charged energy was directed into the lake. It was all meant for the stingray monster. A huge stingray jumped out of the water. Everyone was frightened by its size. The hunters set a trap on the beast. The net was stretched very tight. The warriors held it with all their might. At this time, Hee-Jo-jan reached for the fruit on the tree. He thought he finally had the prized fruit in his hands. This is his beauty. The young man was about to quietly sneak out of the cave. Just then, a glowing cloud appeared above everyone. It was the stingray soul. The stingray soul that came out is at the 10th level. That's why it was able to destroy everyone. The elder realized that he had blundered. He had put his disciples in danger. He was very angry. The soul stingray was moving towards him. The confrontation was impossible to avoid. The elder released his martial energy. His firebird swept toward the slope. Two mighty forces clashed in a confrontation. The stingray bared its sharp teeth, its eyes burning like glowing embers. Hee-Jo-jan held a 7th level magical weapon in his hands. The fight against the monster was heated. The elder countered with all his techniques and skills against the water elemental monster. Lu Xincheng realized that it would be impossible for an elder to defeat a 10-level monster. Something happened. It was like nothing anyone had ever seen before. Due to the damage from the stingray attack, the image change magic had stopped working. Hee-Jo-jan turned out to be a girl and a master of sea magic. Now the girl thought the monster was too powerful. But now that she had what she wanted, she had to get out of here. The girl turned around and headed for the cave exit. The girl saw the wolf and wondered how it could have gotten into the stingray's territory. The white wolf was watching from behind the bushes. Hee-Jo-jan thought that someone was sitting in ambush and watching. She decided to use the magic ring that helped her deal with the stingray. Lu Xincheng didn't want to react, and thus give himself away under the skin of a wild animal. Ring had already patched up the wolf when Lu Xincheng's puppet Lu Xincheng reacted to it. Doll decided to kick that magic ring away. The puppet had succeeded. In front of Hee-Jo-jan, the puppet and the young man stood under the skin of a wild animal. Lu Xincheng realized that hiding was already pointless, and took off his cover. Lu Xincheng moved towards Hijo-jan and the girl recognized him. It's that kid from the Sun and Moon sect. The girl decided that if the Sun and Moon sect found out that she had reduced her disciples to the grave, there would be unnecessary trouble. Hijo-jan, harboring ill will, greeted the young man. A sly sparkle flashed in her eyes. The girl was preparing for an attack. Lu Xincheng, approaching her, thought that this was all strange somehow. She was cultivating too fast, but her foundations are unstable. She was so engrossed in the ability of the magic sea that she lost touch with reality. The young man decided that nothing good should be expected from this girl. Running up to Hijo-jan, Lu Xincheng prepared to strike. The girl didn't want to die in that cave. Suddenly, that huge monster stingray jumped out of the lake. It was unexpected. Lu Xincheng realized that they would deal with each other later, right now. They should join forces to deal with the common problem. Lu Xincheng shouted to the girl to hurry up and unblock the lightning discharge. The stingray could release a triple electric charge, and if it wasn't stopped, things would end badly for them. The girl looked questioningly at the young man. There was a mute question in her eyes, whether she could trust him. Hijo-jan drew her battle weapon and prepared to defend against the monster. The young men prepared to repel the stingray's attack. Its electrical charge. Suddenly the girl saw something on the ground. It was a trap net. She instantly grabbed the net and skillfully threw it straight at the beast. The beast was trapped. He was restrained, and the next thing to do was to act without delay. Hijo-jan desperately began to pull the net taut to completely block all the movements of the trapped stingray. The monster tried to fight back, growling and showing its sharp teeth, thus striking fear into the young men. Lu Xincheng and his puppet also decided to take part in this monster hunt. The doll showed her sharp metal nails and prepared to attack. She wanted to dig her nails right into the wild animal's body, but her fingers slipped. Lu Xincheng thought that this stingray's body was very slippery. It could level 80% of their attack. We should do something differently. There's not much time left before the next monster attack. The best strategy now is to run away. The monster ripped the nets and launched another attack. Dangerous jets of water flew toward the young men. Lu Xincheng decided that it was too late to retreat. A new strategy had to be employed. A bright flash appeared, illuminating the entire cave. Lu Xincheng noted that because of the water dragon's light armor, it wasn't badly injured. The young man saw the stingray lying motionless on the shore of the lake. Why did it suddenly die? The boy thought that the stingray had used a temporary enhancement stroke before its death. A girl named Hijo-jan sat on the shore of the lake and looked at the body of the motionless animal in confusion. Lu Xincheng leisurely walked over to her. The young lady, again harboring something unkind, decided to use on the young man one of the most insidious devices that always impress men. The girl started rolling her eyes and making moaning noises. She told the young man that something was happening to her, like her body was on fire. Hijo-jan said that she was very hot. Her trick was starting to work. The young man thought the girl was really sick. She had been hit by the water jet, and now the effects of the blow began to spread throughout her body. Lu Xincheng decided that he would be as solid as a rock in the wind and not give any sign. The guy muttered something. He was the one who recited the mantra of great compassion. Hijo-jan said that in this state, she couldn't leave the cave. The people outside might turn out to be very bad. They might treat her badly, use her body, humiliate her, then destroy her, and then take all the treasures. The girl said that although the young man was self-serving in her opinion, he was not so cruel. The young lady, to consolidate her success, blushed and cried. 100% effect on men. Hijo-jan stood in front of the guy all defenseless and alone. Lu Xincheng looked at her with a male protector's gaze. There was no chance for him to resist. Her gaze, looking upward, asked for help and protection. Her eyes were like two oceans. You could drown in them. And the final blow. She invited him to her place, tonight. Just me and you, said the girl timidly. Lu Xincheng didn't wait until the evening. He bent over the girl right now. Her eyes beckoned. The boy drowned in them irrevocably. For the young people, this cave turned out to be a place where a miracle happens. A dog barking was heard outside. An hour later, the young people were sleeping peacefully, embraced. The girl was cured. The young man rested, with a sense of accomplishment. He realized that he had driven the fever from the young lady's body. The wily Hijo-jan opened his eyes. While Lu Xincheng was sleeping peacefully after his therapy session, the lady decided to apply her magic ring to him. She brought it up to the face of the unsuspecting young man. The young lady sighed, closing her eyes. She probably remembered what had happened between them. The lady turned around and began to clean herself up. Hijo-jan dressed up and transformed into a diligent disciple of her sect. The girl looked at the guy and wondered what to do with him. Destroy him now? Or give him a chance? She decided to keep him. But if what happened tonight became somehow known to other people, she would destroy him. The girl added so he wouldn't even think of looking for her. They were from different worlds, and it wouldn't work out. As compensation, the girl left the guy a life-extending healing elixir. Hijo-jan left. The silhouette of her frail body disappeared into the opening of the cave. Lu Xincheng sadly watched her leave. He wanted to remain her doctor forever. The guy pushed the unnecessary thoughts away, jumped up and thought he was ready to destroy her. But suddenly, she decided to let him go. Lu Xincheng tasted the liquid from the vial and concluded that contrary to expectations, this elixir had a powerful effect. He decided it was a great favor. 5 days later, Lu Xincheng was meditating in his room. He was still remembering his adventures in the cave. Hijo-jan turned out to be a good person and divided the loot among everyone. He left the Muyun Q sect. In Nie Yuan's presence, he drank a pill and was healed. Our hero thought he could still make it to the Confucius Temple for the heroes' meeting, and then the young man heard someone demanding him to get out quickly. A woman's foot swung open the door to the room. The meditation process had to be postponed. Wei Wushuang decided to put things in order and clarify where Lu Xincheng was going. The girl asked where the guy hides his loot. He replied that they knew better, and added that while they want to deal with him, someone can deal with Tao's brother. The girl looked at him angrily. Seeing his old hair, she thought he was able to get back to his old life. The girl wasn't alone. Her brother and her fiancé had come. They were all determined. Lu Xincheng realized that the day was no longer languid. The young man decided that it was worth it to dot all the I's at once, so that there would be no misunderstandings in the future. The aliens understood Lu Xincheng's intention, but it was too late. The guy punched one of the comers in the chest. The one shouted that he shouldn't have been sent to the other side of the world. Lu Xincheng retracted his hand, and everyone saw that the injured man had a gaping hole with blood spurting out. Our hero replied that it was his own fault, and he started it first. The girl was very angry. She said that Lu Xincheng shouldn't do that to a disciple of the same sect he was a member of. I'll have to tell the sect leader. Wei Wushuang shouted for Lu Xincheng to leave. She will try to detain everyone. Killing a fellow sect disciple is a crime that carries the death penalty. Lu Xincheng shouted for her to shut up. The girl was very taken aback by the guy yelling at her. He said they had nothing in common, and he didn't need her sympathy. She was the reason their marriage broke up. The young man added that there was no relationship between them, and he told her to get out of his sight. The girl whispered sadly that he couldn't forgive her even once. She said he was wrong too. Why he didn't want to practice and was acting like a lowlife. The confrontation continued. The guy said that by pretending to be pathetic, he noticed everything. Lu Xincheng called the girl cheap. He was inexperienced and didn't know that girls shouldn't be treated like that. Kyo Muyan walked over to his fiancée and tried to calm her down. The effect was different. Did she shout that he still had time to feel sorry for others? Don't let him think they're even. And she slapped him. The blow was so strong that my cheek immediately swelled and blood gushed from my mouth. Next, things didn't go according to plan. Lu Xincheng's puppet Lu Xincheng intervened and moved to Chu Muzhong's back as well. Lu Xincheng decided to put a stop to it and kicked the groom in the chest, shouting for him to get away. Mujun was surprised by the behavior of those around him and flew off into the distance. Our hero, having thus let off steam, calmed down a little and asked if Mujun wanted to ask for his forgiveness. Sister Wushuang looked at the dead classmate, the crying sister, the beaten Chu Muyun, and didn't understand who should apologize to whom. She would definitely not forgive Lu Xincheng for this. Kyo Muyun came to his senses a little and began to threaten the young man with some sort of reprisal. Then, everyone left to go their separate ways. Lu Xincheng tried to calm down and sat down to meditate again. But he realized that it would be extremely difficult to get his thoughts in order and practice after what had happened. He decided that he needed to rest. An hour later, the guy heard someone outside calling him a rascal. He went out and saw many people who had come for his soul. The young man was addressed by an elder. The elder saw the change in the young man and asked, was it true that he was able to be reborn? The guy answered in the affirmative and added that he was able to obtain the fruit of longevity by chance. Thanks to that, he was able to be reborn. He took Nie Yuan as his witness. Nie Yuan immediately confirmed that this young man had taken some sort of healing elixir in front of him and had regained his youth before his eyes. The sect elder looked at him suspiciously. This new information changed the case altogether. He ordered Lu Xincheng to be taken to the Council of Elders. Sister Wushuang told Lu Xincheng to hurry up and tell Brother Tao about the incident. Lu Xincheng said that he didn't know anything like that, but even if he did, he wouldn't tell a freak like her. The girl was ready to destroy him for such words. The elder stopped her and told her to stop. The young lady was upset. Even the second elder is defending this guy. The elder said not to pursue her. She just needs to calm down. The grand elder told everyone to go about their business. The disciples of the sword sect arrived at the foot of the mountain and set up camp. Tomorrow is the day of the competition. We need to rest and receive the guests. Everyone began to disperse. Lu Xincheng was puzzled. The second elder's attitude towards him was ambiguous. He seemed to have come to arrest the guy, but he was polite to him. In the Council of Elders, Lu Xincheng was asked to sit down. The young man was told that the sect had always taken care of its disciples. Ancestors always allowed disciples to refine cultivation outside of the sect. The elders know that Jiming has repeatedly tried to frame Lu Xincheng. Therefore, his death will in no way fall on the young man. The second elder said that they have been thinking about it, and he has decided to have the young man come to the place where he lives tomorrow. He wants Lu Xincheng to become his inner disciple and perfect his cultivation. And then the elders started interrupting each other and arguing over whose disciple Lu Xincheng should become. The guy was puzzled before he was treated negatively. Now that he had recovered, everyone wanted him. The young man said he was grateful to all three, but not qualified enough to become their apprentice. Lu Xincheng summarized that he remains an external disciple. All three were very surprised and upset at the rejection of this talented student. The guy bowed out and said he had to go. The young man was leaving and thought he had made the right decision. The elders appreciate him, but why didn't they say anything about the competition tomorrow, which is an indication of his lack of importance? He thought about how to make the best out of it all. The sun was setting over the horizon, and the guy thought he would decide everything tomorrow after the competition. Morning came and all the disciples of the Sun and Moon sect were called to wake up. All students rested, moved to the competition site. The students stood in teams facing each other. Someone yelled out that the rivals were coming. Muyan Q appeared along with his companions. The young man noted that the atmosphere here is so masculine. Lu Xincheng looked at his opponent and decided that he would have to try to execute the grappling technique skill again. Otherwise, he might lose. Lu Xincheng saw a familiar face. He wouldn't have missed it among 1,000 other faces. Lu Xinchuan stood still as Jiuzhen walked past him. The young man's heart was ready to jump out. The young man couldn't be mistaken, it was her. The guy walking next to her was Ni Yuan. It turns out that the girl's name is Li Yuan. Together they are called the Golden Boy and the Jasper Maiden. The young man thought that together they were quite strong, but with his talent he wouldn't lose. Palace Square at the top of the peak of the Lark's Peak. The competitions are officially open. The competitors solemnly lined up in 2 rows opposite each other. Li Yuzhan told her 3 disciples to follow her. One of the disciples is Liu Yiyi, a small girl tempered by the 8 levels of the realm. Her weapon is a sledgehammer. Na Yuan, defiantly licking his knife, introduced himself as well and said that he was a master of 7 martial arts. The elder told Ni Yuan not to behave too aggressively. His opponents today are fragile, small girls. If they are harmed today, it will be difficult for them to get married in the future. The audience laughed amicably to support the elder. Lu Xincheng was watching the fight very closely. Liu Yiyi told Nei Yuan that she had heard of him as the leader from the Red Maple Forest. The boy asked if she was scared now. He added that if she had heard of him, she should know that he was not one to show mercy. Skillfully spinning his knife, he also added that the best solution for her was to accept defeat. Nei Yuan suggested that she shouldn't risk her countenance. The girl deftly tossed the sledgehammer high up and said she wouldn't take any chances. As the weapon tumbled through the air, she fixed her hair without looking at him and added to try and get him to do something with it. The athlete calmly extended her hand out to the side. The girl told the boy she didn't blame him for his lack of ability. The girl told the guy she didn't blame him for his lack of ability. Nguyen, seeing his opponent's skill, became more collected. The start of the contest was announced. The opponents stood opposite each other, studying and making no sudden movements. They began to approach little by little, the weapons in their hands glowing from the excess energy transmitted from their hosts. Lu Xincheng noticed how swiftly his rival Nei Yuan began to approach. He truly justified the title of the 3 outer heroes. Not many people with supernatural level could develop such speed. Nei Yuan shouted for the young lady to be more careful with him. The young lady retaliated with a crushing blow with her sledgehammer. The onlookers, seeing such a thing, screamed with horror. When the cloud cleared, everyone saw that the arena was damaged. The girl holding a sledgehammer, ready to strike again. Nei Yuan desperately fought off the rocks flying towards him with his sword. The guy was in a state of prostration and decided it was a bad thing. There was nowhere to retreat, so he decided to attack. He was a fierce man, and he lunged at his rival, wanting to do her irreparable damage. The girl launched her sledgehammer at Nei Yuan, which rushed towards the targets in the form of a powerful blob of energy. Another moment and the weapons will collide. The sledgehammer is about to hit Nei Yuan. He's already prepared. The warrior realized that an incredible force was rushing at him. His hands were about to get hurt. Nei Yuan realized that this was inevitable and let go of his sword. A sledgehammer with incredible speed, accompanied by a powerful energy charge, met with Nei Yuan. Sword to one side, young man to the other. Blood from his mouth a third. The fight was nearing its logical conclusion. The sledgehammer changed trajectory and flew towards the mistress. Liu Yi intercepted the sledgehammer, slung it spectacularly on her shoulder. She looked at her victim with a sense of accomplishment, not a very difficult duty. Ne Yuan, sad and battered, lay in the arena. The red-haired Liu Yi declared her victory, and the fight was over. Lu Xincheng thought that this frail girl had incredible strength. The referee announced that in the first match of the body and mind strengthening competition, the sword section wins. In the second round, Wei Wushuang versus He Zhoulan was announced. Wei Wushuang said that since her opponent had the 9th level of martial arts, she would perform without weapons. Wushuang said that there is no need to fight. The opponent is very weak. Therefore, she can refuse to fight. The opponent accepted the offer and declined the fight. The end of the second round has been announced. Wei Wushuang won. The elder thought that the competition prepared by the sword sect had revealed the 3 disciples of Jade Lady Yao Jingjing. It seems the Sun and Moon sect is gaining an undeniable victory. The judge announced the last round of the body and mind strengthening competition. The fighter, it was Mu Junqiu, who saw the opponent was bewitched by her. It wasn't clear, basically, how the fight could be fought. It would not be a fight by the rules. The girl said she was Sun Mei, and pointing at her chest, added that this was her battle weapon. The girl, after that, winked slyly at the guy. Usually, young men capitulate after that, but this one was not timid. The audience started laughing, thus discouraging the guy from fighting. The young man sighed and blushed with embarrassment. Wushuang looked at the groom and thought that he had decided to give up so quickly. How blind she was to fall in love with such a man. Wushuang was sad. She saw Lu Xincheng in the crowd and became even sadder. Crying, the girl thought she should have insisted a little longer. Lu Xincheng watched the duel and realized that this girl's charm technique was really strong. The elder watched the duel and realized that in such a competition, Mu Junqiu was a very bad opponent. It was terrible that the Sun and Moon sect would lose because of him. The elder suddenly had a sudden realization and jumped up from his seat. He turned to Mu Junqiu and said that the latter should not have entered the arena. In the third round of the competition, changes were made. Everyone is worried. Who will the elder replace Chu Muyun with? There's no one else left. Hicho Chan understood what the elder was getting at. The elder turned to Lu Xincheng and asked, "Why is he just standing there like that?" And he added that now it's the young man's turn to enter the arena. Kyo Myun thought that he was right about Lu Xincheng. Not only was he not punished, but he was also allowed to participate in such a serious competition. Mu Yun-kyu understood everything, apologized, and invited Lu Xincheng into the arena. Our hero didn't like it very much, but he had no choice. Lu Xincheng entered the arena and apologized for being inattentive. He Zhoujan saw the young man and recognized him. He was the one who had cured her in the cave. He was even more handsome now. The elder began to suspect that Lu Xincheng might be acquainted with Yao Jinjing. If this guy with incredible abilities could be seduced, it would be the end. The elder announced that if Lu Xincheng won, he would be sent to represent the Sun and Moon sect. He Zhoujan said that Sun Mei should surrender. The girl marveled. She told the elder that she would never lose. The elder agreed to let her come out to fight. The girl thanked the elder and prepared to give Lu Xincheng a fight. Sun Mei said that her charm skills had been practiced to perfection. She is ready to begin. The audience waiting for the most interesting fight, mouths open. Lu Xincheng prepared himself. The girl began to bewitch and enchant him. Her charms had no effect on the guy. It was like he was immune. He asked if she could do anything else more serious. Sun Mei once again winked at the boy. He didn't even bat an eye. The girl really didn't like her opponent's reaction. Lu Xincheng apologized and said that her charm technique was incredible. But here's the problem with his heart. His heart is already taken and belongs to another. Sun Mei didn't understand how this was possible. There is no such thing as this Lu Xincheng. She was determined not to give up and win at all costs. The entire audience was struck dumb, and only Lu Xincheng with that immunity of his was in no way willing to give up. Sung Mei thought that until now, there was no man who could resist her charms. He Jujan sighed sadly. The elder thought that when she had been with this guy in the cave, she had already realized then that he was a rather unusual person. Lu Xincheng asked if her mental attack was over. He added that it was now his turn. The young man brought his puppet onto the stage and took out a gold plate. The guy said he was starting. Lu Xincheng let his puppet go forward. Sun Mei was unprepared. Lu Xincheng threw the golden plates in her direction. Sun Mei had to maneuver to evade the attack. She thought that if she managed to touch his body, she could snatch that talisman from him. We have to dodge and get closer. The doll approached from behind and stuck a finger into Sun Mei's back. The girl thought it was not very good. The doll let an electrical charge go straight through her finger into the girl's body. Sung Mei stood as if dumbfounded and couldn't move. The next instant, she admitted defeat. Lu Xincheng was able to win the third round of the competition. The audience chanted the winner's name and congratulated him. The elder said that this young man was worthy of becoming a favorite disciple of the Sun and Moon sect. In the end, With a score of 2-1, the Sun and Moon sect won. It was decided to place the winners of the competition on the honor board. Lu Xincheng thought about the girl from the cave. She is the strongest disciple of the sect and a great elder. The young men were talking. The girl said the young man's elder is afraid she will win him over to her side. The boy said they are just taking advantage of people. Lu Xincheng added that when he was in dire straits, the Sun and Moon sect didn't value him as much as they do now. Therefore, he is also benefiting from their resources. The girl said that their relationship wouldn't lead to anything good. She'd already told him that. The young man said that if she wasn't asking for responsibility, there was no need for him to feel guilty. The guy said not to let her misunderstand him. He's not here for her. He even tried to avoid the contest. The girl said, okay, if that's the case. The elder showed the bracelet and said that it was a high-level item, a heaven and earth bracelet. Since she had reached the 3rd level of the Divine Sea, she no longer needed it. As an apology, the girl gave this bracelet to Lu Xincheng. Lu Xincheng thanked and said that it was not worth it. In fact, his heart was already full. He didn't even think of being together with Heijushan. The girl tossed the bracelet into the guy's hands. She said he could use it. The hero's congregation has more powerful masters than the Sun and Moon sect. And as she left, she added that if he came empty-handed, he might lose. Lu Xincheng kept the bracelet. The pensive young man walked back to the sect. The elder began to inquire what the conversation with the elder of the competing plan was about. The guy said it was no big deal. We talked about life, about family. The girl said she liked him and gave him something as a token of her appreciation. And the young man showed the elder the bracelet. Maybe she's trying to lure him into her sect. The elder said Lu Xincheng shouldn't do that. He's his disciple. They had an agreement. Lu Xincheng said that he did not give an answer and does not want to betray the Sun and Moon sect. The elder showed the young man the weapon and said that it was an earth spirit weapon called Blue Rain. It is much more valuable than this bracelet. Since Lu Xincheng has raised the sect's reputation today, he hands this weapon to the young man. The boy accepted the bow from the elder's hands and thanked him. Lu Xincheng sat in his room and meditated. In his past life, he had seen so many different artifacts. The young man thought, this level 7 body, these 2 items would be enough for now. 2 days later, someone knocked on our hero's door. It was Liao's brother. He said that we should come out immediately. All members of the heroes' convention are waiting at the foot of the mountain. The young man thanked him and said he would come. Brother Liao mumbled back that there were rumors that you and Jing Jing were quite close. The guy figured that Liao had come here to learn about Jing Jing. Liao turned to Lu Xincheng and said that he wanted to ask him. Lu Xincheng replied that he was not his friend or relative, so he would not answer questions. He added that maybe Liao was angry because the elder had met with him yesterday. Brother Liao boiled up and was about to deal with Lu Xincheng. Lu Xincheng decided to use the Divine Dragon and Elephant technique. The first movement is irresistible. Their furious fists clashed and there was a release of energy. Brother Liao boasted that he possessed 9th level supernatural strength, and Lu Xincheng is just a pathetic adept of the outer door. The moment the opponent's fists met, Lu Xincheng's energy was so strong that it was transmitted to his opponent and he experienced a very intense pain. He had to cry out. Liao's arm took on an unnatural shape and sagged. It was broken in several places. Lu Xincheng was emotionally calm. He headed towards Brother Liao. Liao realized that he had gotten himself into trouble, but he couldn't understand how such a thing was possible. Lu Xincheng explained that there was no need to boast about his position. It wouldn't help anyway. If he tried to attack from the sidelines next time, he wouldn't get away with a simple fracture. Everyone on the outside watched and wondered how the young man was able to defeat an adept at the 9th level of supernatural power. Everyone in the neighborhood already knew that Liao Huaming had been injured by Lu Xincheng. Everyone was stunned by the news. They started asking how could he lose? How could a 7th level martial artist win against a 9th level supernatural power user? Wu Shuang asked Lu Xincheng if it was true that he had beaten Brother Liao. The judge said to ask an elder to replace you because of your injury. Liao said it's a common fracture. He has a special ointment of the highest quality. It will take 15 to 16 days to reach the temple. In that time, the arm will be fully recovered. The judge told Liao to take care of his wife and not to make mistakes. Brother Liao began to explain that he was fighting for his girlfriend's honor. Therefore, he had innocently suffered. Liao took offense and left. The young man keeping order was unwavering. The elder said it was time to move out. She didn't know anything about the broken arm yet. For 15 days, the crew traveled to their destination. During this time, Lu Xincheng was able to rise to the 8th level of martial arts. Tiger and Dragon Mountains. Confucius Temple. Wu Shuang cheerfully announced that they had arrived at their destination. We can get off now. The elder said they have 2 hours to learn the rules of the competition. She will meet with the local elders. For now, everyone is free to go. The team froze in place and listened attentively to the commander. The team decided to go and watch the other competitors compete. The young people approached the large arena. There were a lot of participants and spectators. The audience watched the performances and took note of the new techniques. One of the athletes flew by. He had a very aggressive opponent. He was a very big guy with a rustic look. Wushuang thought something was wrong. She asked Lu Xincheng if he thought that guy had lost intentionally. She explained why she felt that way. The warrior who now stood with sword in hand was clearly strong. It was dangerous to fight him. So the opponent, realizing this, lost on purpose. The people nearby began to look back at Wushuang. Someone said that she shouldn't judge Zhao Tao. It's very dangerous to behave like that in these parts. No one will support her. The girl said she was from the Sun and Moon sect, and added that people of low intelligence should not give their advice. The interested party is deluded, and the outsider sees clearly. Everyone pounced on Wei Wushuang and rebuked her. They said they didn't know of such a Sun and Moon sect. It must be a very small sect. Zhang Tao is a top disciple of the Fresh Wind and Rain Palace. He has the 20th level of supernatural strength. The girl was ready to cry from resentment. This is when the screamers were stopped by Brother Liao. He said that the Sun and Moon sect is not a bunch of scum. The people around me decided not to bicker anymore. Zhu Tao shouted from the arena that he was the one who badmouthed the Sun and Moon sect. What's the big deal? Lao immediately flew towards the arena. He was furious and was ready to give Zhao Tao a beating. Wushuang cheered him on and shouted that he did well. Zhao Tao drew his sword and prepared to repel the attack. Zhao Tao thrust his sword forward. Liao feisted his opponent's weapon. With the next blow, Liao sent the offender into free flight. Onlookers were shocked by what they saw. Zhao Tao jumped up and couldn't understand who this attacker was. He's all level 20 supernatural strength. He shouldn't lose to some unknown upstart. The local hero focused and decided to continue the fight. He rushed to the attack with a victory cry. Brother Liao was ready to meet the enemy. Zhao Tao was striking the young man very quickly. But the young man was very fast and effective in evading the blade. The blows did not reach the target. Liao at the same time managed to land bare-handed strikes on his opponent. The spectators watched with bated breath. Could this be a worthy opponent for our Zhao Tao? Someone in the crowd noticed that Liao had a problem with his right hand, and shouted it out to Zhao Tao. Liao realized that he might have a harder time now. Lu Xincheng also noticed that Liao was working with one hand, and thought that in 2 weeks, Liao's injured arm had not yet fully recovered. Zhao Tao realized everything and decided to change his battle tactics. Zhou Tao decided to attack his opponent's sore arm. Liao now had a harder time repelling attacks. It was harder to attack himself. The enemy recognized his weakness. Liao thought that hard times had come now. He found it increasingly difficult to hold back the onslaught of the enemy. Liao misses with a leg kick to the side of the head. It was unexpected. Liao was unable to stay on his feet and flew off to the side. Everyone started congratulating Zhao Tao and saying that he was still the best. Lu Xincheng suddenly entered the arena. He began to insult and hurt Zhao Tao, clearly provoking him. The young man said that the athlete who had just performed was a genius. He practically fought with one hand and was on the same level as your brother Zhao Tao. And this Zhao Tao himself couldn't notice that his opponent was injured until he was prompted from the crowd. Zhao Tao replied that it didn't matter. Lu Xincheng said that the man must think he is very cool. Another fighter appeared and said that he shouldn't have interfered with other people's competition. Lu Xincheng said that if they think they are tough, let them come out to fight. The crowd murmured with indignation. They shouted that it was Zi Chen, who possessed 3rd level supernatural strength. Zhao Tao laughed because this kid had challenged Xing Chen. Lu Xincheng stood on the podium as if nothing had happened. The one peered at Lu Xincheng with anger and said that he would give him a chance to retract his words. Lu Xincheng said that in that case, he would also give the young man a chance to retract his words. The young man realized there was no way to avoid the collision. Wushuang wanted to know what was the story behind Zi Chen. It was explained to her that Zi Chen was a brilliant disciple of the Holy Church. He is only a 7th level martial artist, and he is already a member of the inner circle of elders of the Holy Church. In a ranking of experts in the field of body hardening published by the Holy Church, he ranks 3rd. Lu Xincheng was said to have no chance of winning. Wushuang was upset that because of her rash words, she had caused great trouble to the Sun and Moon sect. The elders gathered in the gazebo. The elder with the glass of water feels sad. The speaker said his siblings are now in the arena, so he has to go off and see if anything untoward has happened to them. Another elder also expressed such a desire. The Thunder Sect elder was discussing the talents of the various participants. The Sun and Moon sect was the only one in the rankings far from even the 200th place. Han Chusan decided to go watch the fights as well. A few more elders followed her. Su Ming, the 7th patriarch of the Holy Church, said that they would probably all go to watch the competition now, and so it was agreed. All the elders went towards the arena. At this time, there were 2 challengers in the arena. One of them was announced. It was Lu Xincheng. The young man bowed in appreciation and out of respect. They told him from downstairs that it wouldn't end well. So he beat up Liao. Now he's causing a lot of trouble. Why is Lu Xincheng doing this? Does he really think that the Sun and Moon sect belongs to him? Lu Xincheng told his interlocutor to show respect before saying anything. The interlocutor said that Lu Xincheng doesn't know what respect is, because he had never shown respect to the Sun and Moon sect. Lu Xincheng looked his interlocutor straight in the eyes. Wei Wushuang and Chu Muyun also watched the developments with interest. The young man asked Chu Muyun, "Did he hurt you again?" The one replied that his injury had nothing to do with Lu Xincheng. Wasn't he injured by Zhao Tao's brother? Wei Wushuang asked that the young man not do it now. He answered her to shut up. The interlocutor said that at such a critical moment, Lu Xincheng did not pay attention to the greatness of the sect at all. Then he should be taught a lesson. The young man shouted out that Lu Xincheng did not harm him in any way. On the contrary, he was protecting him, before jumping into the arena. He hadn't been prepared for such a development last time. The opponent only remained silent and did not give his answer, so added that they were competing and Zhao Tao hurt him. Zhao Tao said that just now, a disciple of the Sun and Moon sect defeated him in a competition. A little lesson wouldn't hurt. The instigator said that Zhao Chao's brother had done nothing wrong. Lu Xincheng repeated again for the interlocutor to show respect when speaking to him. The opponent objected. Instead of trying to work things out, he just keeps creating more problems. Lu Xincheng was silent this time in response, but he realized that there would be no need for hand-to-hand combat this time. This was a case where words were not enough. Wei Wushuang covered her eyes with her hands in fear. Lu Xincheng thought that this was not good. He was a third-level expert of the Divine Sea Realm. The young man realized that he wouldn't be able to overpower him with his physical body. He lost his balance along with his doll. The opponent motioned at the young man. He decided to teach a lesson today on behalf of his master. He wants him to know that he is a member of the Sun and Moon sect. Lu Xincheng was already tired of these meaningless conversations. Just then, Elder Jingjing intervened in the conversation. She tried to stop Lu Xincheng's rival. She told Lu Yi Ran to stop. She added that regardless of who was right or wrong, if one wanted to teach a lesson, one should wait until they returned to the clan. The young man objected that it was his clan's business and the girl had nothing to do with it. The girl fell silent and turned away. The interlocutor said that if he has problems with Jing now, how can he get along with her in the future? And it has nothing to do with Lu Xincheng. The young man clenched his fists with tension. He warned Lu Xincheng that today was his lucky day. Don't do anything reckless. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so patient anymore. The elder said that only a 7-year-old child was capable of doing such a thing. People like him are unable to even pass through the outer door of the Jade House. The other elder added that the weak are characterized by a tailspin. He is sadly pathetic today. Lu Xincheng became embittered at such words. He said he would remember their words. In their eyes, the strong can turn wrong into right. A year later, Lu Xincheng will let Li Yuzhan know what a true genius is. The onlookers looked at the young man in amazement. They listened and laughed back. How could one challenge a true genius like Li Yuzhan? The elder looked at him intently. He said he was going to return to the clan and offer expulsion from the sect. But now he's decided to give it a chance. He was willing to wait a year for him to use the full extent of his talent to show what genius was. The elder told Li Yuran that it was time to leave, and not to worry about a child who didn't realize the limits of his own ignorance. It would be impossible to teach him proper behavior. Another elder said that the one should realize that the sky is higher than he is. The girl reassured the young man by saying that he was no less qualified. However, a hurried man is easily broken. He stopped her with a movement of his hand, and said it would be best if she didn't talk to him right now. Everyone started telling the girl that even after all the help she had given him, this guy still didn't know what he was doing. The elder thought he was just trying to keep his distance from her. Lu Xincheng pointed at the young man and told him to go up to the arena. He hadn't had any fun with him yet. That one looked sternly back at Lu Xincheng's words. He replied to Lu Xincheng that he would only fight with one hand. If in 10 moves he can hold on, the victory is his. Everyone was interested in watching this battle. How dare he challenge Ji Chen? It's unfathomable. Lu Xincheng thought that he had never been humiliated in his past life. Now that he had been reborn, he would not allow himself to be underestimated. The young man calmed down and began to silently prepare himself for the upcoming battle. He was calm and poised. No one could make him mad. After a short meditation, he behaved differently. He showed that he was number one, and that he was not to be trifled with. Everyone saw the 5th level of the Avatar realm, a 7th level tempered body martial art. Who is this? The elder thought his qualifications were very good, but she had underestimated him. Lu Xincheng was fully assembled and ready to fight. The amount of energy hovering over him left his opponent with no hope. The The elder noticed the golden glow above Lu Xincheng and thought that this guy didn't practice any purification techniques. The opponent saw the refining technique and became very tense. Body hardening and refining cultivation belong to two different branches. But this Lu Xincheng was practicing two techniques at the same time at the body hardening level. He also thought that Lu Xincheng was using two techniques at the same time while being at the 5th level of the Avatar realm. Jichen thought that it was very strange that such a powerful person did not rank high in the body hardening stage. But one can't run away because there will be no future in the church. Jichen decided to go for it in this fight and dispatch his opponent with a single punch. Jichen activated his battle dragon, and everyone saw that he was now a triple master. He is using a secret technique. Now he must win. Lu Xincheng was calm. Jichen was inviting the guy to fight him. Jichen directed all of his strength and dragon power at Lu Xincheng. Our hero tensed his fist and prepared to repel the attack. The clash between the opponents was very powerful. The energy output of the impact was amazing. Lu Xincheng countered the dragon and was able to hold his position and not retreat. Everyone noticed that the leading dragons instantly burst into flames. The elder was startled and shouted for Jichen to urgently retreat. Jingjing stopped her colleague and said that they were still in the middle of the competition. Therefore, there was no need to interfere. Jichen decided to retreat, but the enemy's fire energy consumed him completely. Everyone was horrified by what they saw. There's hardly anything left of Jichen, just armor and bones. Lu Xincheng stood calmly in the arena. The fight is over. He said he was glad to see it. Everyone was shouting, "Brother Jichen!" They were discussing that Jichen had been defeated by a single punch. How is that possible? The young man shouted that Lu Xincheng was the strongest. The young man thought that this Lu Xincheng was only a 7th level martial artist. But he's already so terrifyingly strong, and shows no mercy. What could happen to him in a year's time? He rushed towards Lu Xincheng in the arena. It had to stop now, so Jingjing decided to take action. She stood between the young men, and made it clear that she shouldn't touch Lu Xincheng right now. The guy told Yao Jing that it was impermissible to get in his way twice. It's going too far. Jingjing replied that it would become impermissible if he constantly retracted his words to his fellow disciples. The girl realized that words alone would not be enough here, and she would have to use her fighting techniques. She directed her energy at her opponent, and told him to fuck off. Lu Xincheng noticed that Jingjing was defending him again. The boy thought that even though this girl acts like she hates him, she can't help but live up to his expectations. Every time he was in danger, she helped him. Lu Xincheng pointed out that she really wasn't like other people. Everyone was yelling to get out of here, because if the battle starts now, the whole place will be destroyed. The elder shouted to stop immediately. He stood between the opponents and tried to stop the bloodshed. The young man didn't understand why the elder was interfering. Lu Xincheng is an adept of the Sun and Moon clan. He had just massacred Jing Chen. The elder said that in the tournament, life and death are determined by fate. And what Li Yuran is doing today is shameful. Li Yuran fell silent in response. An elder told Lu Xincheng that he is very arrogant, but there is still someone who supports him. The young man still won't be able to catch up with Li Yuran even if he takes a whole year to do so. Lu Xincheng only remained silent in response. No one could understand what was on his mind. The elder left and Yao Jing approached the young man. She said that he is too aggressive right now. Li Yuran's position in the Sun and Moon sect is far from what he can achieve. Yao Jing called Lu Xincheng with her to the Sword sect. As long as he follows her, he will not be threatened by anything. He is still too weak, and perfection is not only a matter of strength, but also of heart. Lu Xincheng was surprised by her behavior. She's a nobody to him. Why should he follow her? Why does she protect him? The young man added that he has never relied on women. The girl was very offended by Lu Xincheng's words. She turned silently and walked away. Lu Xincheng knew she wanted the best for him, but he can't accept her offer. Nor can he take her with him. If he retreats here, he won't be able to move on. Lu Xincheng approached the stranger and asked where the battle ranking published by the church was. The stranger told me where to go to see. Lu Xincheng thought that if he wanted to improve his improvement, he needed to clearly understand where he was. The young man walked over to where the stranger was pointing. The guy looked and thought that he had just defeated Ji Chen, and already the ranking had updated. The intelligence network of the church should not be underestimated. Lu Xincheng approached the girl and wanted to ask her a question. The girl said she would be happy to answer any questions. The guy said he wanted to challenge the first one on the list. How do you find him? The girl was startled. Did the young man really want to challenge Nalan Xiaofeng? The interviewee explained that Nalan Xiaofeng is ranked first among all the body hardening students, and Lu Xincheng only has an 8-level body hardening martial skill. The young man thanked the girl for her concern and asked only for the address. The girl pointed to the outside guards of the church who are responsible for updating the list. If you want to challenge someone, you have to walk up and sign in. The guards will approach the other party. If the other party agrees, the challenge will be accepted. After that, the day of battle would come, so everyone would make the necessary preparations. The young man thanked the helpful girl. Lu Xincheng had a plan. The guards asked, "Who is Lu Xincheng? Why was he ahead of Ji Chen?" Everyone was also surprised by this placement in the rankings. The guard stated that he does not know all the details. He is just following the instructions of the elders. We have to be patient for a while. Someone in the crowd said he wasn't sure about the veracity of the rankings either. Oto turned out to be Nalan Xiaofeng. He said he wanted to challenge Lu Xincheng. He'll teach that upstart a lesson. Nalan Xiaofeng added that power ranking is more than just a ranking. It is an honor and recognition of our qualifications. The young man said that he wanted to see if Lu Xincheng had the courage to accept the challenge. Lu Xincheng thought, "It's good that he has caused so much discussion. It saves him from having to look for it." People were discussing this Lu Xincheng. It was said that he took out Ji Chen with one punch. Someone in the crowd said that he couldn't believe that there was such a strong person with a hardened body skill in this world. He was told that the 7 elders of the Holy Church were witnesses. They said that Lu Xincheng had even practiced the secret technique. He is only at the 8th level of the tempered body martial art, but after using the secret technique, he had reached the 5th level of Avatar. The young man thought that if he could raise his refinement to such a terrifying level, it was definitely a top-quality technique. We should get it. He decided to recharge with medicine. These pills contain Qi energy. After taking them for 2 days, the meridians will absorb Qi energy from the outside world twice as fast. The guy decided to promise Lu Xincheng, if he dared to come and win, to give those pills to Lu Xincheng. And if Lu Xincheng loses, he will demonstrate his secret technique of perfection. People started placing bets on this fight, and generally whether Lu Xincheng would come in. Nalan thought that since he had the ability to instantly memorize things, it would be enough for him to watch and memorize the secret technique once. Nalan decided that when he was done, Lu Xincheng would be as useless as everyone else. He would just have to deal with him. The guard said he would send a challenge to Lu Xincheng, but it was unknown if he would accept it. Then Lu Xincheng appeared, unexpectedly, and said that he was accepting the challenge. The young man was glad that he would still get a lot of useful pills for completing the task he had planned for himself. Nalan Xiaofeng interjected, "Did Lu Xincheng really agree to fight?" Lu Xincheng said that he agreed to the fight and the terms. After all, he would never be able to defeat Lu Xincheng. It's time for the competition. Elder said the reason the Holy Church is holding this competition is to select the most talented students who represent the eastern part of the continent. Everyone asked, what's going to happen next? The Elder pulled out a green card. The card read, Nalan Xiaofeng versus Lu Xincheng. The Elder announced that Nalan Xiaofeng would teach Lu Xincheng a lesson today. Jingjing told her female students, if Lu Xincheng's life was in danger, for them to help the young man. Elder suggested that the tournament continue so that the best prizes go to the best. The Elder noticed that there was a change in the green card. He looked at the card and muttered in surprise, Nalan Xiaofeng died in battle. Everyone was terribly surprised and shocked by such news. A mute question froze on everyone's lips. Lu Xincheng stood nonchalantly in front of everyone. He controlled his puppet, which held his opponent's skeleton in its hand. The young man's fist glowed and emitted a powerful energy charge. There was nothing left of his opponent, just a pile of bones that lay on the bleachers in front of all the spectators. Lu Xincheng reasoned that against Ji Chen, he had used 70% of his strength. Against Nalan Xiaofeng, he used all of his strength. He didn't last long. The opponent was not as good as expected. After the victorious battle, the young man came to the guard for his due reward. Nalan Xiaofeng's teacher, Nalan Xiaofeng, appeared and began to call out to his disciple. He grabbed Lu Xincheng by the scruff of his neck and began to ask if his ward was okay. Lu Xincheng said that the man had died in battle. He didn't want to deal with him completely, but Nalan left him no choice. Elder Su fainted. Another elder said that Lu Xincheng had just massacred Ji Chen and Nalan Xiaofeng. This is no way to behave anymore. This way will do no good. The young man said he was doing as the elder said. The weak should behave with their tails between their legs. That's what the elder teaches. Another elder said that if Lu Xincheng continued to behave like this, he would be expelled from the mountain. Lu Xincheng said only if they left together. The guy added that it's not up to him to kick him out of the cult. Lu Xincheng walked away and his opponent was still shouting something afterward for a long time. The elder tried to calm the heated young man and said that there were plenty of opportunities to teach him a lesson. Lu Xincheng is in her room sitting on her bed meditating. It's a full moon outside. The energy around the young person is energized in a positive way. The guy thinks that these pills were very useful. If he could absorb all of them, his refinement would rise to at least 3 levels. The young man heard someone sneaking around. These people dare not do anything to him during the day to preserve his dignity. but at night they decided to sneak up on him. Lu Xincheng noticed them. The boy noted that there were 2 or 3 of them. He took the magic bracelet, the gold plate, and his doll. The guy threw the plate at the night alien. It was a girl, and she shrieked in surprise. She was immediately bound with ropes, and a battle doll rushed towards her. The other 2 aliens rushed to the girl's aid. Lu Xincheng thought it was a prank by someone from the church. He prepared to make a stealthy escape to avoid trouble. The guy broke through the wall and ran outside. Lu Xincheng was running away from the city and thought that now he would have to find another way out. The young man found himself near a cliff at the edge of the forest. The boy stopped. He was not alone here at this hour of the night. It was an elder with his warriors. He asked where Lu Xincheng was in such a hurry. The forces were unequal. The elder's attitude was aggressive. He said that Lu Xincheng had massacred his best student today, so we'll have to settle accounts and pay for it in blood. Lu Xincheng said that Nalan Xiaofeng's insatiable greed was to blame. What Lu Xincheng did was for the people. Lu Xincheng asked, why isn't Li Yuran here? The elder said that he himself would now clean up the mess as he sees it. The elder commanded that everyone attack the young man. The guy was standing on the edge of a cliff, and his foes were approaching him. Lu Xincheng thought that this was a very familiar picture. It's happened to him before. Lu Xincheng announced that they would all die today. The guy was already standing at the very edge of the cliff. Memorable moments from his life flashed before his eyes. Something that made a big impression on him, and he jumped off the cliff head first. The cliff was high, there was no chance of surviving. The elder didn't know how to react to that, so he had won. He looked down. There was nothing to be seen. The servants reported that they didn't find the body. But even if Lu Xincheng had a high level of perfection, he wouldn't be able to use it. The elder said it was very good. He shouted that his disciple Xiaofeng had been avenged. Elder said he thanked everyone for attending this meeting and welcomed all the talents to join their church. Yaojing and her female disciples listened to this performance and couldn't understand why they were invited here at this time. The servant whispered something to the elder. The elder says that's all for today. We can go. The girl thanked for everything, but said that neither she nor her female disciples were going to leave the sword sect. The girls bowed out and went to their rooms. They were met by Li Yuran. Yaojing didn't expect to meet him in such a place, at such a time. She wondered what he was doing here. Elder Su had been in plain sight all night. Then who was Li Yuran meeting with? A suspicion crept into the girl's mind. Yaojing suggested that the girls go to the disciples' residence. She reasoned that Elder Su Ming wasn't stupid enough to fight Lu Xincheng, who was only at the 8th level of martial Dao. Li Yuran looked at the trail of the fleeing girls and thought that they had really run to Lu Xincheng. But the church seemed to have already taken action. He thought it was just one stone in the road and the church had put so much effort into it. Li Yuran regretted Yaojing, but since the church had already taken action, Lu Xincheng was already gone. The young men approached Lu Xincheng's room and shouted at him. Then they knocked on the door. Everyone thought it odd that the young man didn't respond. Suddenly, someone showed up from the next room and said it was very late and sleepy. Other students came out and started saying they had been woken up. Yaojing didn't give up and asked everyone, "Where is Lu Xincheng?" The girl in the next room said he wasn't here. Yaojing asked her since their rooms are next to each other, she should know where the young man is. Ta replied that she had just woken up. Maybe her brother Liao Humian knows. Yaojing told Liao Humian to come out. Liao appeared and asked what Yaojing was doing here. The girl repeated her question. Where is Lu Xincheng? Liao Humian said that the girl is hurting his feelings. She knows how he feels about her. Yaojing said we'll talk later. Where is Lu Xincheng now? Who knows? This Liao couldn't calm down and was talking nonsense about feelings and relationships. The girl interrogated what kind of relationship we were talking about. Liao explained that the 7th elder of the sword sect had openly fought with Li Yuran for Lu Xincheng. What would the people around him think in this case? Everyone began to speculate that maybe really Lu Xincheng really is Jade Lady's boyfriend. Lo continued. Lu Xincheng was being so defiant because he had fallen in love with the Jade Lady. If Yaojing is so protective of him, then they have a secret connection. Lu Xincheng behaved like this because he felt Yaojing's support behind him. Therefore, he must die at the foot of the cliff. The girl slapped the young man in the face and said that her relationship with Lu Xincheng shouldn't be anyone's concern. The girl said that she had long wanted to ask Elder Su when his heart was eaten by a dog, and he was now living like a rat. Yaojing became very upset and left. Liao ran after her, but she paid no attention to the young man. Yaojing decided to go to the cliff. She rushed towards the warriors there in a rage. The girls scattered around anyone who tried to interfere with her. Yaojing walked to the edge of the cliff and looked down. Suddenly, someone put a hand on her shoulder. The girl flinched. It turned out to be Elder Su. Yaojing was very surprised. He said not to jump down. If you do, you'll die. The girl said that she now understood how they made Lu Xincheng die. She said she felt very sorry for the young man. Tears ran down the young lady's cheeks. She thought that if she had insisted and the boy had stayed, this would not have happened. Elder Su said no one had heard anything about Lu Xincheng. What's the use of him? He's just an 8th grade martial arts student. He's worthless. Elder Su told the girl to go back to the sword sect. Elder Su said she couldn't just leave, so he sent the villains after her. The villains had almost caught up with Yao Jing, but then the unexpected happened. Yao Jing's students showed up. The girl with the sledgehammer cleared the area in one fell swoop. The girl said she doesn't need the church's attention. She is not an 8-step martial arts student. Elder Su said that their church has no shortage of geniuses. If you leave today, you will regret it in the future. Yao Jing said that she would regret it if she stayed. The next morning came. The patriarch inquired about Yao Jing leaving. It was reported to him that it was. The patriarch said that no one could be blamed for Ji Chen's death. After all, in the tournament, life and death are determined by the heavens. Su Ming shouldn't blame Lu Xincheng for Ji Chen's death. Elder Su told the patriarch that he was admitting his mistake. The holy maiden wondered if Yao Jing was really leaving the temple because of Lu Xincheng. Elder Su said that he had seen it with his own eyes. The holy maiden told the patriarch that they didn't need someone like Yao Jing in the heavenly realm. She disregarded the big picture for her own interests. The patriarch agreed. But from now on, all activities of the sword sect are forbidden. All present said they understood the patriarch's order. The holy maiden asked how preparations were going for tomorrow's tournament. The holy maiden has been informed that everything is ready. Tomorrow there will be an official competition to determine the top 3 from the body and avatar hardening areas. It's been 3 days. They have announced the closing of the tournament. There are now 6 winners of the Holy Church tournament. The top 3 in body hardening. The second 3 are in the avatar area. Everyone congratulate these 6 people. They are the most powerful beings in all stages of development on the face of the Eastern continent. And now the most solemn part of the competition has been announced. The one we've been waiting for so long. The performance of the Holy Maiden. The Holy Maiden took out 6 pieces of jewelry and said that this competition was very fierce and she would keep a close eye on everything. The maiden added that all of you are a tremendous force in our heavenly realm against the barbarians. You, 6 proud sons of God, who have a bright future ahead of you. And now, for the prize giving. Virgo added that she hopes they continue to work hard and come up with even greater achievements. Virgo said she would start handing out awards. Someone in the crowd asked the maiden, "Is it true that Lu Xincheng was destroyed by the Holy Church?" The Holy Maiden looked sternly into the crowd. A stranger appeared to ask the question. The Holy Maiden asked what was wrong with this young man. The guy said that he had recently seen Lu Xincheng's performance with Nalan. Lu Xincheng was capable of ranking first in body hardening. But right now, Lu Xincheng has never appeared anywhere. Rumor has it that he was massacred that night. Everyone thought about it and decided that it was strange that Lu Xincheng was not at the competition. Is this really how the church treats disciples? Elder Su said that Lu Xincheng was indeed victorious in battles, but he is very vicious and ruthless. Elder Su added that their church has always been open and honest, and has never acted shamelessly. The church does not know where the young man is now. He also said that if someone disagrees with the outcome of the trial, they can challenge it. None of the people wanted to challenge the church. Everyone began to think that it was only Lu Xincheng's problem where he had gone. Still, there was a brave man who wanted to spar. Everyone began to say that it was the 9th Heavenly Thunder. The Holy Maiden stood in the arena, and what was going on around her was not part of her plans. A daredevil in the crowd told her that the church had so intimidated everyone that no one dares to tell the truth. No wonder Lu Xincheng disappeared. Because in a fair fight, he would have won. His opponent said he's about to show who's stronger. The young man began to accumulate his martial energy around him. His opponent did the same. Things were heating up. The fighter was ready to make a leap on his opponent. The opponent channeled a powerful beam of energy. The warrior clenched his teeth and decided to put all his power and rage into the blow. A flash illuminated the arena. The boy shrank back in fright. He asked what was the point of bullying the weak. In front of him stood Lu Xincheng himself, calm and unperturbed. Elder Su covered himself in cold sweat and muttered that it was impossible. Lu Xincheng thanked the young man and said that he would take it from here. Left alone with Lu Xincheng, the martial artist asked what the latter wanted to do. Our hero said he wasn't interested in him. Lu Xincheng said that he had come back to challenge him, and pointed his finger in the direction. Lu Xincheng pointed his finger at Wei Ran. Elder Su said that Lu Xincheng dare not interrupt the award ceremony and ignore the rules of the church, and also wants to challenge Wei Ran, the second in the Avatar realm. Lu spoke calmly, confidence in his voice. He said that the rules gave him the right to challenge and confirmed that the church wanted him killed in the middle of the night. All the other contestants stood in a cold sweat and could not believe their eyes and ears. The elder was on the verge of a breakdown, and upon hearing this screamed that he hadn't met Lu last night, and therefore couldn't have killed him. Those watching couldn't figure out what surprised them more, Lu's audacity or the betrayal of the church. Lu laughed back at the elder and mocked him in front of the others. The young man swept up that he didn't say which night he was going to be killed, and thus proved that the elder was really going to end Lu's life. Su shouted that he would beat the young man to death and rushed towards him. They stood head-on, the elder ready to remove Lu when the other wouldn't even look at him. At the last moment, the holy maiden managed to stop Su and told him to leave in shame to the house of the elders. Su objected to her, unable to leave as if because he had to deal with everyone present first. Suddenly, the elder received a momentary yet powerful punch on his lips. It was Lu who didn't want to tolerate the elder's insolence. His punch caused a breeze to rise around Su and splinters flew in different directions. The elder was bleeding from his nose and mouth, dumbfounded at what the young man was allowing himself to do. Those watching had never seen such a thing. They couldn't believe what had just happened before their eyes. No one had ever beaten an elder in public before. Su was burning with rage. Never before had he been humiliated like this by Lu in front of an audience. He was ready to destroy the young man. And now he's already flying like a comet, moving away from everyone else. It looks like the Holy Maiden has decided to send Elder Su away. The maiden asked Lu Xingchen not to repeat such stupid things because he is walking on very thin ice. She doesn't believe that Lu's strength is enough to overpower the elder. The young man spoke as if with derision and confidence in his words. He believes the church could do a lot more good. Such words angered the Holy Virgin, and she promised not to let Lu insult the Holy Church again. The young man thinks that the Virgin just doesn't want to admit the truth about the Holy Church. But he will not stop there, and will make the church pay for what they did that night. That's when Wei Ran came up to them. Lu insulted him and only blamed the House of Bright Moon for Wei not taking first place. Saint Maiden, it seemed like she had never heard such insolence from someone like Lu Xingcheng. The young man promised that he would give it all back when Su Hu cornered him. He wants to start with Wei Ran specifically. Wei Ran responded to Lu's audacity with bravery and confidence in his abilities. He thinks he can easily defeat the guy. Here, one of the people watching advised Wei Ran not to hold back and prove to everyone that Lu was no danger. Lu was just as ready to fight as his opponent, and set the start of the fight himself. The Holy Maiden who was looking at all of this noticed the similarities between Lu and Yao Jin. They both have no self-awareness, and consider themselves to be both heaven and earth. The maiden tried to stop Lu and offered to admit defeat, but there was no way he wanted to back down. Wei Ran didn't wait for the first strike and shouted to accumulate strength. Flames rose up behind him, and lightning-like clusters of energy swirled around his body. Wei Ran used a level 2 divine skill and stood in a stance, ready to strike. Lu Xingchen didn't even look at him, so confident was he. There wasn't a single bit of fear in him. The competitors looked at Lu with astonishment. They didn't understand how the young man would be able to defend himself when his avatar was 6 steps inferior to Wei Ran. No one believed in Lu. Wei Ran, with a smirk on his face, gave Lu a final warning and once again advised him to immediately admit defeat. The young man didn't say anything. He continued to stand like this without moving, his back to Wei Ran. Wei Ran scattered and was in the sky above Lu. In a moment, he would have already destroyed the young man once and for all. And so, Wei strikes first. He sent a fiery comet hurtling towards the similarly standing Lu. Wei Ran's teacher shouted in support of him, how helpless Lu was and wouldn't be able to stand up to his opponent. Lu Xingchen was covered by a giant fire mushroom from the explosion. After such a blow, there shouldn't be a wet spot left of him. Wei Ran approached the fire and reiterated that Lu was too weak to do him any harm, asking to summon doctors for his rival. After winning, he asked the Holy Virgin to continue awarding and announcing the results of the competition. After seeing everything that happened, the Holy Maiden told everyone how foolish Lu had acted and the result he had gotten. From what he heard next, the Holy Maiden turned pale and stood in a stupor. Lu Xingchen's voice rang out from the blazing fire, and there he stands, amidst the flames, saying that Wei Ran can't burn him even if Lu stands still and doesn't move. Suddenly, a giant dragon appeared from behind his back. Everyone began to flee from what was happening. The Holy Virgin restrained the fireballs with her strength, preventing them from touching herself. And Lu Xingchen stood there and watched everything with a smile. Wei Ran couldn't believe it. Lu remained unharmed after the shining sun of the earth, his best move. Lu walked up to his opponent and asked if Wei was afraid of him now. Wei Ran's teacher shouted to his student that it was just a ruse, and Lu was not a problem for him. Lu, realizing that it was Wei Ran's teacher, insulted him with a ruthless and dirty teacher. Hearing this, Wei Ran's face flushed with rage. He would not tolerate insults towards his teacher. He jumped and swung a second blow at the young man. Wei Ran was able to use the burning flame and apply both powers at the same time, thus showing the audience his excellent skills. In the instant after the strike, a giant dragon appeared in front of Wei Ran. Everyone was very surprised when they realized that it was Lu Xingchen's dragon, and that it had started to act. After defeating his opponent, Lu calmly showed respect in his direction and reiterated that his punches would not harm Lu. Here the young man revealed the truth about Wei Ran's teacher, Su Hu, for he had secretly collaborated with the church to kill an innocent man by sinister means. Wei Ran didn't like the accusations he heard and thinks it's a load of nonsense, because Su Hu is an elder of the Bright Moon House and has been teaching Wei Ran the arts since he was a child. Lu Qingchen asked Wei Ran where he had seen the elder on the last night before the competition, and then Wei Ran suspected something. He thought that Su Hu was in his house, but he did not open the door. Wei thought that the teacher was not well, but the next morning he was in good health. Su Hu frowned at his disciple, realizing that if he didn't do anything, he was finished. Suddenly, Wei Ran, before he could say what was next in the morning, cried out in pain and collapsed to the ground. Elder Su Hu stood not far from his disciple, who was lying motionless. He shouted that he didn't understand how Wei Ran could doubt his own teacher. A moment later, Lu Xingchen was already standing in full readiness, with his dragon. The crowd of people were running away from the water dragon Lu. They realized that they would get it too if they didn't keep their distance. Assistant Elder Su Hu was in awe. She couldn't believe that Lu Xingchen possessed such strength. And now the dragon is ready to destroy the elder and his assistant. The people realized that the water dragon was about to explode, and they needed to run far away. Lu apologized to the Holy Maiden for attacking her with such force. He realized that he couldn't control it, and because of that, it fell apart. Lu realizes that he'll need to handle the situation somehow too, so he doesn't gather trouble from the Holy Virgin as well. Saint Maiden is very disappointed in Lu. He has gone too far by using such vicious techniques. Lu Xingchen said that no one knew that he would suddenly attack his purple water dragon. Everyone screamed for it not to start again. How much longer? The young man explained that this technique was called Poison Dragon Strike, which was a combination of poison technique and water control technique. Attacking in this way could also bring him back, but it would take a little longer. The guy added that actually he wanted to stop right now, but the Holy Maiden didn't hesitate to attack his water dragon because she cared about the safety of everyone here. His water dragon was defeated and just created chaos. The maiden asked, did he really accuse her of interfering in his affairs? Lu Xingchen said that everything is true, but the Holy Maiden is different from other people. When chaos broke out, the others scattered, and the Holy Maiden stayed behind to protect her people from the church. Moreover, she even attacked my water dragon and took care of the disciples' safety. She is truly worthy of her name. Everyone said Lu Xingchen right. The church elders ran faster than the rest. She doesn't care about us. Elders said to Lu Xingchen not to dare to turn the facts upside down. Lu Xingchen said Wei Ran was defeated by the elder. She defeated my dragon and now wants to use him as a scapegoat. The young man also asked, can the church protect all these warriors at the expense of one unarmed man? She asked, why did Lu Xingchen put all the responsibility on her? That's a lot of nerve. The girl added that she is not one to recant. Lu Xingchen said that there was still more to come. Elder Su has intervened in this game. Now he has to convince everyone, so we'll have to play the winner again. The opponent said that if Lu Xingchen wants to become number one, let him do it. Everyone started yelling and expressing their displeasure. The opponent started to say that Lu Xingchen had just used the purple dragon. If the spectators weren't afraid, they wouldn't be scattering in all directions. So there was nothing to shout about. He added that all people should know their capabilities, and he admires Brother Lu's virtue and skill. The Holy Maiden said that since they had relented, Lu Xingchen had become the first to use avatars. The young man thanked the girl. She added that his award would be waiting in the pavilion, where the award ceremony would take place. It was night. The whole town was asleep. The young man got ready to leave. He didn't say he was going to stay until the ceremony. The girl asked where he was going for the night. Lu Xingchen said that it had nothing to do with her. Wushuang was sad, she asked. Does Lu Xingchen still hate her? The young man replied that he wasn't interested in her, didn't like her, and hated her. Lu Xingchen added that he has a girl he likes. In his eyes, Wushuang is nothing compared to her. He is willing to live his whole life with that girl. Wushuang guessed that the girl Lu Xingchen loves is Yao Jing. Did their relationship really go that far? The girl cried and realized it was over between them. Someone knocked on the door. This was a Holy Maiden. She found the whole thing strange. After Lu Xingchen won the first prize, did he really stay? She knocked and said that she wanted to talk to the young man about the ceremony. The Holy Maiden opened the door and was surprised to find the room very quiet. Looking in, she saw that the room was empty. Where had the young man gone? She said to inform all the students that Lu Xingchen had gone somewhere. The young man stood on the edge of the cliff and said it was too late to chase him. and he took a step forward into the abyss. He thought he had already been forced to take a step off the cliff 3 days ago. Then he only survived because of the bracelet and the bird. The bird picked him up and he didn't touch the ground. Lu Xincheng realized that right now, it was different. A flock of birds flew by. Lu Xincheng said, "Good bird. Let the poisonous miasmas of this abyss be so great that it is difficult for a human to travel, but it has no effect on the eagle." Ever since he tamed the eagle with his last beast pill, this place has become the best place for his training. The young man also thought that except for the terrain and rare herbs, there was something else. This is the Devil's Tear. The young man knew it was all thanks to the information he had gotten from the eagles. The guy shouted that he didn't expect to find such a priceless treasure here after losing it to Yao Jing last time. He really wants to help return to his world, to save Colleen. 1 hour later, Lu Xincheng was already flying the eagle on his business. Our hero knew he was almost there. Surely such a treasure would be guarded by a ferocious beast. And so it was. The big white tiger decided to deal with the uninvited alien who disturbed his peace at this hour. Lu Xincheng realized that it was a ferocious tiger monster of the 10th level. The birds came to the rescue. They began to attack the beast. A 10th level beast was equivalent to an intermediate tertiary level martial artist. Lu Xincheng realized that even with the help of the eagles, the tiger could not be defeated. We have to think of something else. The young man began to formulate his plan. The first eagle he sent upward. The tiger was getting more and more ferocious. The young man decided to concentrate for the right solution to the task at hand. Lu Xincheng knew that the water dragon was quite toxic to humans, but the poison had no effect on this monster. The young man decided to run away. That was the best option right now. However, the tiger began to chase him. Lu Xincheng was able to confuse the trail while retreating, and the beast had to go back. The young man realized that he was safe now. The tiger roared again, but the growl was already far away. Beasts don't have strong territorial awareness, and the other tiger must not know that the devil's weeping vine is here. And that beast that was chasing the young man wouldn't dare to leave for fear of the devil weeping vine. The young man saw the entrance to the cave. The incense didn't spread for much longer, but it was so powerful that many animals had already gathered. This fragrance attracted both animals and beasts. Even at nighttime, the scent also attracted monsters. Various wildlife sought these fragrances. The young man saw 2 tigers preparing to engage in a fight. One of them was not in his territory, but he was attracted by the incense. He realized that tigers cannot live on the same mountain. If their paths crossed, they would fight until total victory. It was dawn. The young man and the eagle were in a secluded place and watched. The 2 10th-level ferocious tigers were still fighting, and now no living creature dared to come within 10 miles. The tigers fought, giving no mercy to each other. It was a battle between 2 huge monsters. The young man and the bird were afraid to look out from behind the tree so as not to be seen, but they were very interested in the situation on the battlefield. Lu Xincheng finally looked out and saw that both beasts were lying in pools of blood. Lu Xincheng tried to understand how none of them had survived. He walked closer and heard that one of the tigers was still breathing. The guy thought that the tiger had already reached the highest level of spiritual rank, but he needed the tiger's power to return to his world and save Salinas. The young man plunged his dagger into the animal's body and let it bleed. Then he was going to do the same with the second beast. Lu Xincheng had already brought his dagger over the animal's body. As if at the last moment, he sensed that the beast was still alive. It moved. Lu Xincheng noticed that it was a tigress and should have a cub soon. The boy knew that all things have a spirit. And when a beast grows to such a degree, its spiritual knowledge is not far behind that of a human. The young man decided that he would not kill the tigress. He decided to help her. He said he'd be back soon. He went into the cave and came to the tree. There were now 3 fruits on the tree. Last time, there was only 1. Lu Xincheng couldn't understand what had happened to the tree. Instead of branches, there were snakes. They hissed and wanted to bite the young man. From behind the branches of this tree, some sort of creature was peeking out. Lu Xincheng knew that the tear had a spirit, but he never thought that it had a soul of its own. Plants have a harder time forming a spirit than animals, and once formed, they are 100 times more powerful than a regular devil's tear. The young man knew that there was only 1 chance in 100,000 that this could happen, but the spirit of the tear had only recently taken human form. The spirit is very fearful, and at the slightest danger the whole plant may wither and die. The spirit peeked out from behind the branches of the tree and looked at the stranger. Du Xincheng turned away. As much as he wants to take tear, he can't do it now. This place is so deserted now because of the animal deaths that no one dares to come here. Lu Xincheng thought that he didn't have time for these musings. There were more important things to do right now. First, you need to gather all kinds of healing herbs to treat the wounds of the white tiger. Then you need to use the white tiger's blood to cultivate to the 3rd level of Dragon Divine Technique. Lu Xincheng remembered that when he fell off the cliff, he had barely reached the 2nd level of the Divine Dragon Technique, collecting the blood of low-level demonic creatures. That was when the Black Dragon Avatar appeared. The 2nd level of Dragon Divine Technique can block the full power of a 2nd-class technique of 9 supernatural powers. The young man wanted Li Yuran to wait another year before fighting. A young man sat near the fire with a cauldron and meditated. He saw the birds heading toward him. The eagle flew up and brought the fruit of the tree in its beak. A small white tiger cub was playing in the young man's arms. The tigress watched them calmly. There was no tension between man and animal. Autumn had arrived. The Soul of Devil's Tear was by Lu Xincheng's side. The young man played with the little man like a child. The tree soul was jumping, frolicking, and acting like a real child. Winter came. The young man still stayed with the tigress. He spent time by the fire and meditated. It was spring. The boy decided he was ready. Lu Xincheng said that during the year, he not only healed from his wounds, but also gained certain skills. Thanks to the fruit that Lu Xincheng received from the little man, he was able to practice twice as hard with half the effort. The young man cultivated the 5th supernatural power, a 1st-grade Earth-type technique. Lu Xincheng decided that after a year, he should leave this place. The young man told the little one that he was going back to the sect because he had other things to do there. He asked if he wanted to go with him. The baby cried and didn't want to leave the place. The guy said he would never, ever, ever let that little guy get hurt. The little boy wondered what he should do. He kissed Lu Xincheng on the cheek. The kid agreed to leave the place and go traveling with the guy. The young man said that he could use the tiger too. He is an alchemist by vocation. Therefore, he would be able to create a beast spirit pill through which the tiger could evolve. He could use the tiger cubs too. The white tiger refused and said he belonged in this forest. The tiger allowed the young man to take the little tiger cub with him. The guy told the kitten that it was still a baby, so it needed to be raised and cared for. Lu Xincheng decided that since everything was settled, he could ride the eagle and set off. Across the mountain ranges, Lu Xincheng flew back to his native land. He had reached the divine sect of the Sun and Moon. The young man thought he had reached his destination. Everyone recognized him when he went for a landing and began to greet him. But some of the innkeepers were not happy with the young man and asked how dare he come back here. Someone decided to confront him. The matter was immediately settled on the spot, and everyone scattered in different directions. The guy was going about his business when he was shouted at. It was an elder. He said that in Liao's opinion, the young man had not only insulted the church and brought shame to the Sun and Moon sect, but had even massacred the famous disciple Ji Chen. Another elder wondered how, after a year, he had become a level 5 avatar. Lu Xincheng asked 6 if they were going to invite disciples to surround him. The elders pondered the young man's suggestion. One of them wondered, how could this happen? It was a mistake. He was back, so everyone came to welcome him back, and to test his skills. The elder invited Lu Xincheng back to the Sun and Moon sect. The young man arrived at the patriarch of the Sun and Moon sect. The patriarch said that he had heard from the elders that when the young man first came to the sect, he was only at the 7th level of martial arts. It took him 2 years to master the 5th avatar level. This rate of progress is much faster than Li Yuran's. The patriarch continued and said that the young man is still a disciple of the outer door. The old man invited the young man to become his 2nd disciple. This was said in the presence of all the elders. Lu Xincheng asked, what good would it do him to become the patriarch's 2nd disciple? The patriarch laughed back. If he becomes a 2nd disciple, he will be at the same level as Li Yuran, and his training will be supported entirely by the sect's resources. The patriarch added that in addition, he had recently felt that his end was near. And in order to improve his cultivation, he had to close the door and break through to a better realm. The young man asked if that meant he was worthy to be a patriarch. The old man agreed, but Lu Xincheng must be better than Li Yuran in every way. Li Yuran is still at the Rain Pavilion and will be back in 2 weeks. The guy thought he had another half a month. He said yes. Everyone began to discuss the news that Lu Xincheng had become a disciple of the sect head.
The elder announced to everyone that from now on, Lu Xincheng will be considered your 2nd brother. His strength should be obvious to all of you. In just 2 years, he has trained to the 5th avatar level.
The young man said that Lu Xincheng had changed since their last meeting. The guy had no way of knowing what was going on here. The young man was upset. Lu Xincheng returned and became the patriarch's disciple. He would not now forgive all the wrongs he had done to him. The patriarch suggested anyone to fight Lu Xincheng and test what he was capable of. Everyone was scared, and no one wanted to challenge the new big brother. Someone said he wanted to challenge the young man. He had heard that he had won 1st place in the church competition. It was Brother Liao. He said that he was the strongest adept in the Sun and Moon sect. Besides, Brother Liao added, they had unfinished business related to Yao Jing. Liao added that a few months after he fell off the cliff, Yao Jing learned about it, ignored the church ceremony, and left the church. Lu Xincheng thought that the sword sect had left the church. The young man would never have thought that she was so merciful and faithful. Brother Liao, traditionally, in such cases, began to insult Lu Xincheng and said that he would deal with him right now for upsetting Yao Jing. Fiery hatred flared in our hero's eyes, and he said he would fulfill his rival's wish. The warriors, fueled by feelings of hatred, prepared to attack each other. Brother Liao was the first to move into battle. Lu Xincheng prepared to counterattack him. Lu Xincheng released his inner dragon and prepared to apply martial combat techniques. His opponent grabbed his arm and attempted a painful hold with a takedown. Everyone has noticed that Liao is worthy of being called Big Brother. Met the second brother's black dragon face to face and still has the power to suppress it. Brother Liao felt a step at his back. Each of the opponents had their own fiery avatar. Lu Xincheng realized that now was the most opportune moment to deal with his opponent. The black dragon was stronger and entangled Brother Liao with its might. Liao knelt down and began to lose consciousness. Everyone saw Brother Liao fall face down and showed no signs of life. Wu Shuang and everyone else went over to Brother Liao and said that a doctor should be urgently called to him. He is not feeling well. The people around him wondered how this was possible. A year ago, Lu Xincheng wasn't this strong. Now he easily defeated Brother Liao. The young man thought, if Lu Xincheng didn't forget anything and wanted to avenge everything, he would be in trouble. He decided that it would be necessary to strike Lu Xincheng first. Lu Xincheng also examined the injured opponent and said that there was no need to worry. Brother Liao's cultivation core is fine. He will be healthy in a couple weeks. The young man said that he had reinforcement pills for such occasions. I'll have to give them to him periodically. Lu Xincheng was approached by Mu Yunqiu. He said that Ne Yuan was already close to a breakthrough in cultivation, so there was no need to load him up very heavily. Mu Yunqiu turned to Lu Xincheng and said that he had done many bad things in the past. But if Brother Lu was not a vindictive person, he would give him a chance to make things right. Lu Xincheng thought for a moment. He agreed. He said he held no grudges and would see how things went from there. Mu Yunqiu returned to his home. He gave the old man the pill and asked him to test it for poison content. The servant performed the necessary laboratory tests with this pill. He reported to his master that it was a high-level fortification pill, and there was no poison in it. Mu Yunqiu realized that Lu Xincheng wasn't up to anything bad. Even considering his feud with Huaman and his promise with Li Yuzhang, his half-brother, he remembered that Li Yuzhan would be back in 2 weeks already. If it turns out his half-brother is dead, for example from the poison in the pill, Mu Yunqiu didn't repent in front of Lu Xincheng. He had a cunning plan in his mind. 2 weeks have already passed. Brother Liao, sitting on the bed. Thanks Brother Chu for bringing him healing pills every day. Mu Yunqiu said that it is not difficult for him, especially since Lu Xincheng is constantly busy, and added that Ne Yuzhan is close to a breakthrough. All he is doing is cultivating. Mu Yunqiu said that he couldn't believe one thing. Could it be that Brother Liao had become so close to Lu Xincheng? Brother Liao replied that he did not understand the point of the question. The opponent said, because they used to feud with each other. Lu Xincheng wounded Brother Liao. Now he's handed over the pills for you. Brother Liao doesn't even care what the pills are. Of course, this all seems like a close relationship of trust. Brother Liao replied to this that their feud started because of Chang Chang. He himself offered to settle their issues in battle, and he lost, so there's no one to blame. Mu Yunqiu said, suddenly things are not what he thinks they are. Someone came into the room and witnessed this conversation. It was Ne Yuan. He said that Mu Yunqiu was talking nonsense. Mu Yunqiu started to justify himself and said that Ne Yuan did not go to the Holy Hall with them for sports training camp. But the rumors should know about how Yao Changchang stood up for Lu Xincheng and insulted the Holy Hall. What really happened between them, no one knows. The young man added that in addition, there was a promise to deal with Li Zhang, who caused Lu Xincheng to return to the sect. Maybe Lu Xincheng is going to get rid of him. Ne Yuan got angry and shouted for Mu Yunqiu to immediately shut up. Brother Liao coughed. Blood began to come out of his mouth as he coughed. Blood was already on his hands, his clothes, his bed. Something was wrong with his recovery. The boys were worried sick. The boy was on the mend. Brother Liao became completely weak and collapsed on the bed. The young men began to call for help. Their shouting could be heard far beyond the room. We must call the elders. Everyone ran over and saw Ne Yuan holding Brother Liao in his arms. He was unconscious and covered in blood. No one could understand what had happened to Liao Huamin. He was on the mend. And then this happened. How can this be? Mu Yunqiu thought that there was no one in the sect who could help cure the sick man. The poison he had been taking all this time had already affected him. Soon, he would die. Then Li Yuzhan would return, and the fun would begin. The guy hoped that Lu Xincheng would no longer get out of this mess. Liao Huamin was getting harder and harder. Seeing his friend suffering, Ne Yuan asked him to be patient for a while. Help is on the way. Lu Xincheng showed up. He said the guy should be put down on the floor. Liao Huaming and Lu Xincheng were sitting on the floor against each other. Our hero summoned his dragon. Time was short, we had to hurry. The dragon drove its tail around the body of the bleeding young man. An alarmed Ne Yuan asked Lu Xincheng what was going on. Lu Xincheng said that Huamin was poisoned by the poison. The dragon managed to control the poison element. He must help the patient get rid of the poison in his body. Liao Huaming began to cough intensely, and the poison that had poisoned the young man's body began to come out with his blood.
Ne Yuan was just as worried about his brother Liao, but it was obvious that the young man had already come to his senses.
Lu Xincheng said he was safe now, but without serious treatment, he wouldn't last long. Mu Yunqiu realized that Lu Xincheng had ruined his devious plans. Something had to be done. Mu Yun ran into the room and asked what was going on with brother Liao, how he was feeling right now. He started blaming Lu Xincheng for everything. Mu Yunqiu began to claim that it was because of the pills that Lu Xincheng had given to his brother Liao through him. The pills must have been filled with poison, so Liao Huaming was poisoned. The elder was very disturbed by what he heard. This is some kind of conspiracy. It's not allowed in the cult. Lu Xincheng asked Chu, did the latter really think so? The young man wondered why he would save him now. Mu Yunqiu replied that it was for an alibi. Lu Xincheng must have guessed that the elders might come. Mu Yunqiu continued that everyone in the neighborhood knows that you and brother Liao are competing over Yao Changcheng. Lu Xincheng is also feuding with Liao Huamin's half-brother. The elder said that we need to hear Lu Xincheng's explanation. The young man only grinned back. He even laughed at the top of his voice. Ne Yuan was wary of such a reaction. He punched Mu Yunqiu's face with all his might. The one shrieked and asked what the bully was allowing himself. Lu Xincheng said that it was a failed attempt to frame him and poison brother Liao. The pills he gave for Huamin were only half of what he produced. Lu Xincheng continued. Each batch of pills he divided into two parts, one for brother Liao and one for Ne Yuan. If Ne Yuan is alive, then the problem is not his pills. Mu Yunqiu realized that he was in a bad situation, and with Liao's brother, he had somehow gotten it wrong. The elder ordered the criminal to be tied up. If Mu Yunqiu has something to say, let him say it, and he'll be tied up until his father arrives. The next day, Mu Junbo appeared and looked for his son. The picture that Mu Junbo saw made him very sad. His son was tied to a post of shame and begged for help. He cried out that he was too young and did not want to die. Muongbo started yelling that his son shouldn't be treated like that, that they're all allowed to do this. The elder explained that the situation with his son had gotten very bad. Now they could not turn a blind eye to what was happening as before, and told what had happened in the sect. The father could not believe that his son was capable of such a thing. Ne Yuan confirmed the elder's words and said that it was only because of Lu Xincheng that the tragedy was avoided. Suddenly, Li Yuzhan appeared, and in front of his father, and all the people pierced Mu Junqiu, who was tied to a pole with his sword. Lu Xincheng was very surprised to see this young man. Mu Yunqiu shuddered and started coughing up blood. Li Yuzhan said an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Mu Yunqiu must pay for the atrocity he has committed. The unarmed young man was bleeding, nailed to a shameful pillar. Mu Yunbo couldn't believe his eyes. He was mad. The old man shouted not to dare touch his son and rushed at the offender. Li Yuzhan stood still with his eyes closed as Mu Junbo strode towards him. The old man swung around to deliver a stabbing blow at his son's abuser. Li Yuzhan was ready and blocked this strike, counterattacking the old man. Mu Junbo fell to the ground. His mouth was bleeding. Li Yuzhan said that his son deserved such a fate. The old man deserved the same fate. Li Yuzhan launched his swords towards Mu Junbo, but Lu Xincheng and his puppet stood in his defense. Li Yuzhan asked, "What is the young man doing?" He added that the guy needs to get out of the way. This is not his fight. Lu Xincheng said that Li Yuzhanri had dealt with Mu Junqiu, as he deserved, but his father is innocent, he can't be touched. Li Yuzhan boiled up and shouted that parents are responsible for their children's misdeeds. If Lu Xincheng wanted to protect him, he would finish them all off together. The warrior headed for the attack along with his energy animal. The snake was huge and terrifying. Li Yuzhan activated the mode, Soaring Clouds. Lu Xincheng was ready to meet his opponent. Li Yuzhan drew his sword and prepared to go on the attack. His weapon spewed flames. Lu Xincheng was focused. The opponent this time is very strong. The young man activated his fiery fist of rage. Li Yuzhan said that he would not make the same mistake twice. The elders were worried about both of their disciples, but Lu Xincheng was the youngest. However, our hero was not going to give up so easily. He released his energy friends too. Li Yuzhan called his opponent a show-off. He prepared to deliver his special magic strike. His sword was all blazing as if it was made of molten metal. The warriors stood against each other in the epicenter of an energy apocalypse. Lu Xincheng gathered himself and decided to engage his dragon. The black dragon, blazing with anger, went at his opponent. Li Yuzhan didn't understand how the opponent was able to cancel out his elemental technique. No one had ever done such a thing before. Lu Xincheng was pleased with himself, but he was ready to continue the fight. The elder told the young men to stop fighting. They should live in peace because they are disciples of the same master. The young men shouted in one voice, "No way!" They found a high in it and decided to continue. The fighters were about to attack when they heard the call to stop. It was the patriarch. He shouted that if they laid a finger on each other, he would kill them both. There was no choice, and they agreed. All the elders agreed that it was best not to joke with an angry sect head. The sect head asked, "Why did Li Yuzhan stay so long at the Tingyo Pavilion?" The young man explained that he had been forced to stay there because of rumors. There were rumors that a barbarian hideout had been discovered. The patriarch didn't believe it. It's been a long time since that happened. Lu Xincheng was also surprised by what he heard. 6 years ago, barbarians invaded the Tianfu continent. The real Lu Xincheng's father went to war with them, taking all the warriors of the Lu family with him. Because of this, their family is now in decline. After the war, the barbarians went on the run. All these years, people have been searching for the barbarians' hideout, so they would know where to expect danger from. And now the hideout has been found. Li Yuzhan added that after this news, the pavilion took it upon itself to discuss the situation. It was decided there that we should summon all the participants of the Divine Realm level and above to attack the barbarians first. The elder said that the barbarians are one of the oldest enemies, and another war with them would put the entire Tianfu continent at risk. The elder decided that it was necessary to help the Tinfu Pavilion. The matter of Liao Huamin and the death of Mu Yunqiu was put aside for later. Li Yuzhan obeyed. The servant said that Mu Junbo should go home. All the details of his son would be discussed later. It was decided to leave Mu Junbo in the sect for now. A general gathering of disciples was announced. Everyone gathered in the square. An hour later, the patriarch was speaking to the sect's personnel. Lu Xincheng thought that he was not interested in the fate of the continent. He wants to become stronger and return to his world. But for now, he's too old to survive the war alone. So he'll have to be a soldier for a while. Lu Xincheng realized that the war would drag on, and it was unknown if he would survive. Lu Xincheng decided to visit Old Man Li and the others. The patriarch announced that in 2 months, the first elder would lead all the disciples of the Sun and Moon God sect to the Tingyo Pavilion to fight back against the enemies. Everyone gave a friendly shout of approval. Lu Xincheng decided to return to his hometown first. Make 4 iron puppets for Old Man Li and the others. Someone put a hand on the young man's shoulder. It was his foreman. He said it was going to be a rough ride. You'd have to know how to stand up for yourself. The patriarch said that he had prepared a spiritual ring, a powerful treasure that accelerated the flow of energy in the young man's body. The young man was very happy about such a gift. Even in his world, such things were very rare. The old man said that he and Li Yuzhan are both his disciples and disciples of the same sect. Therefore, they should live in peace and not settle their relationship. And Lu Xincheng must promise to return after the war. The young man promised he would. Lu Xincheng didn't tell the truth. He had no intention of coming back here. He has to go to his own world, and to do that, he has to leave the sect. But if he ever got the chance, he would repay the Sun and Moon God sect. The guy decided that the most important thing right now was not to worry. Neiyuan said that everyone was already leaving soon, so the young man should hurry to his family. Lu Xincheng asked, what is Brother Neiyuan going to do? After all, he wouldn't be in the sect for the entire 2 months. He said he had no family. Before the cult, he was a gangster. Lu Xincheng said that he is now his family. Neiyuan agreed with his brother. Lu Xincheng knows to make iron avatars. Old Man Li and the others should be left with 4 puppets. One is already there. It's at the 3rd level of the Divine Realm. If we use better materials, we can make a trio around the 4th level. The young man thought that such dolls were just the thing for their neighborhood. 4 days later, an eagle flew in for the young man. They had arranged this meeting in advance. The boy was about to take flight when he was shouted at. It was Wei Wushuang. She asked if he was going to his childhood city. The young man realized he'd have to take a traveling companion. He decided to take the girl to the place where she had decided to break off the engagement. He offered to take her. The girl was very excited. That's what she needed now. The young men spent 2 weeks on the flight. The girl said she was in touch with her father yesterday. A spiritual connection. Warned him she'd be back. When they landed, everyone had already gathered at the city gates. The girl's father was a little puzzled. There were questions. Where did Chu's fiancé go? Why is Wei Wushuang with this Lu Xincheng again? Even though he's strong, his family is in total decline. He's no match for us. The young man heard all this talk. The girl asked her father to stop lecturing her. She explained to her father that Mu Yun-kyu had died. Lu Xincheng was now a disciple of the sect patriarch. He's a very important person now, so she's the one who's not her equal. Everyone in the neighborhood began to recognize the young man and said that he had grown up and matured. Now there would be a change in the town. Lu Xincheng is glad to be back. He didn't have much to do with this place, but it was always nice to come back. The boy went to the door. Uncle Lee walked towards him. Their eyes met. Lu Xincheng announced that he was back. Everyone couldn't believe their own words. The young master had returned. The news spread quickly through the neighborhood. The old man could not recover and fell to his knees. The young man asked him to get up. Uncle Lee cried with happiness. Today is an amazing day for their family. The guy stood, holding his arms across his chest in greeting. Everyone was discussing him, saying that the young man had matured a lot, and the family had something to be proud of. The young man didn't want to upset Lu's family and tell them the truth about their son. He decided that as long as he was in this body, he would consider Lu's family his family. Soon, he would leave this town, but he would make sure that the family's well-being was taken care of. The servants came and said there was trouble. The heads of Feiying Fortress, Tang Fortress, and Juzei Pavilion gathered at the gate of their house. Uncle Lee decided to deal with them immediately. Why they came here. Lu Xincheng asked Uncle Lee to calm down and not to interfere. He's gonna take care of it himself. It's his favorite thing to do. The people in front of the house were hustling and shouting. How long can we wait for him? Even if Lu Xincheng came back, the Lu family was still scum. The people thought the young man was nothing. And if necessary, they would show this family who was the boss of the town. After not waiting for Lu Xincheng, everyone decided to go to his house. So a guy came out on the porch and said, "What's this gathering here? You looking for trouble?" The people are quiet. They did not expect to be spoken to so rudely. The elders didn't expect the young man to come. It would add to their problems. Looking at Lu Xincheng, they thought the guy was barely alive when he left here. He came back alive and strong. How could that happen? We should try to defeat him. Then everyone in town will respect him. The elders said they had come to greet him and invite him to the fortress. They want to talk about the future. Another elder began to invite him to his pavilion. To talk about the future, too. Make plans. Each of the three wanted to win the young man over to their side. The third said that the Lu family was part of the Feiying Fortress, so the guy should look there first. Lu Xincheng recalled the name Feiying. Lu Xincheng said that Yang Ling himself severed all ties with his family. Now he's saying that Lu's family was part of this worthless fortress. Yang Ling replied that it was impossible to truly sever ties with someone. Another said that it was impossible to forget how he had treated Lu Xincheng, how he had taken all the property from Lu's family. Yang Ling told his interlocutor to watch his tongue. Yang Ling began to apologize to the young man and said that he was very sorry for doing such a bad thing before. He was not like that now. He suggested that the boy forget the old strife and return to the fortress. After all, Lu Xincheng can't protect his servants all the time by himself. Who will take care of them when Lu Xincheng leaves? For a more meaningful conversation, the young man summoned his eagle. This was a very convincing argument on Lu Xincheng's part. The guy told Yang Ling that since he was admitting his mistakes, he should kneel down and ask his father for forgiveness. Yang Ling didn't understand the gravity of the situation and said that this was the young man's last chance to accept his generous offer. At the same instant, the young man's puppet appeared and sent Yang Ling into a deep knockout. It was done quickly and without further ado. The old man began to come to his senses after a while. Lu Xincheng repeated his suggestion. If Yang Ling wanted reconciliation, should kneel down and ask his father for forgiveness. 4 battle dolls stood beside the young man. The boy said that from now on, no one would dare to even look badly at his family. This was said lucidly and, looking at Yang Ling, very convincing. Returning to the house, Lu Xincheng told his relatives that they could see the guests off. Uncle Lee asked what the strange 4 warriors were. The young man explained that they were his puppets, each with a strength equal to the 4th level of the divine realm. When he leaves, these puppets will protect the Lu family. Uncle Lee asked why the young master was going to leave again. Lu Xincheng told me all about the barbarians, Tinto Pavilion, and the upcoming military operation. He doesn't know how long he'll be away. Uncle Lee said the barbarians should avenge the young man's parents. Things would be quiet here under the cover of the puppets and Uncle Lee. Uncle Huang gave his sword and said that he was too old to go to war. But with this sword, the young master will be able to deal with barbarians. Lu Xincheng thanked and said that he also had a request. From now on, all the property of Lu's family goes to him. And when he comes back, he'll be very angry if they don't live well. Don't make him angry. All the servants cried and thanked their master. Lu Xincheng said that it was time for him to hit the road. The servants added that they would be careful not to anger the young master. The boy noted that he had accomplished this mission. You can move on to the next level. 2 months passed. Everyone began to gather at the foot of Snow Bamboo Mountain, on the outskirts of Yangyang City at the Tinggyo Pavilion. The Sun and Moon God Sect elder announced that everyone had arrived at the place. Li Yuzhan reported that they had arrived at the place. They should be met by one of the disciples. The mountain peaks stretched out in front of them. Clouds floated above them. An unusual image of a girl appeared in front of the young man. She introduced herself. This was an inner disciple of the Tinggyo Pavilion. She was assigned to meet and greet everyone. The elder said that they should be taken care of. The girl replied that it was her duty. There are many people arriving now, so the elders are very busy. The girl followed Li Yuzhan at her heels. Ne Yuan told Lu Xincheng that she had fallen in love with a young man. Lu Xincheng thought of Yao Changcheng. He hadn't seen her since the Holy Hall. I wonder, how is she doing? The girl at the front desk asked Li Yuzhan to tell her more about himself. She has a childish, very naive look in her eyes. She became curious about the student walking next to the first elder. She hadn't seen him before. Li Yuzhan said it was Lu Yicheng, the man he hates, and who wants to finish him off. The young lady asked, why? Then she said she hated him too. The girl said they had prepared the rooms they would be staying in, so everyone can be accommodated for the time being. Lu Xincheng remained alone in the room and motioned for his traveling companions to come out. The eagle and the tiger cub appeared in the room. They began to stretch and frolic around their master. The young man began to feed them with the right tear fruit and fell asleep right in the young man's arms. Lu Xincheng thought that monsters only went to bed for two reasons: to recover from injuries, or to evolve. The guy knew the tiger cub wasn't hurt, so it's evolving. That's odd, because he didn't cultivate. The boy decided to leave him alone for now and go get the materials. The new puppets would need a lot of them. The front desk girl said there was a transmission from Mr. Lu. She handed over the envelope. The letter was from Tianxiang. She suggested we meet at noon under the tree by the arena. The young man followed the right man to the right place at the right time. It was a conspiracy. The pack of hooligans wanted to plow him to the ground while Tianxiang signaled. The girl at the table called out to the young man. The guy asked why she was looking for him. The young lady said there's no need to be in such a hurry. We could have a cup of tea first. And she held out the tea to the young man. He was suspicious, but he took the tea. The young man asked why he was here. The girl took his hand and said as soon as she saw him. She closed her eyes and fell silent. Lu Xincheng asked if the girl was okay. She said her eyes were blurry and she couldn't feel her hands. What did the young man do to her? The guy realized something was wrong. She started it. He just defended himself. She probably wants to pretend that the young man molested her and call for help. Lu Xincheng said that they would see each other next time. Then someone called out to the young man and told him not to move. The ground beneath his feet began to go out from under him. The guy thought that even on drugs, she was able to use such a sophisticated technique. Lu Xincheng said that he wasn't going to fight with her. He has plenty of other things to do. Lu Xincheng went about his business, and the gang of hooligans rushed towards the girl. She was angry that her plan had failed. The young man was on his way to an area where medicinal plants and pills were sold. The guy realized that this is what he needed. It had already been 7 days since he had met Tiansan. All this week, Lu Xincheng had been sitting in the market, buying up rare materials that were not available in their sex market. The young man noticed that the white tiger was finally able to evolve. He also created a prototype marionette with a bronze core, and he also knew that such puppets were several times stronger than ordinary iron ones. At the moment, that was his maximum. People gathered and wondered how long they could wait. Ne Yuan said he's been waiting for a week. When he goes to the front line, he wants to massacre the barbarians. Lu Xincheng advised him to calm down, because they won't go anywhere until all the sects have gathered. If they're all gathered, then all the sects have arrived. Lu Xincheng noticed someone's feet and said that he didn't know what kind of sect it was. The elder asked, "Is this the Zhangjian sect?" Lu Xincheng recognized the girl. They crossed paths again. The girl saw the young man and realized that he had not died on that cliff. The young men met, and she said how lucky he was to be alive. The young man replied that it had been difficult, but he had made it through. The young lady said that it was great. The young man added that the path of cultivation is hard. He is still on the cusp of death. The young lady told the young man that life is always more important. The girl was not alone. Her acquaintance introduced himself. He was a top disciple of the Zhangjian sect, and his name was Song Yufeng. He also added that he was Changchan's fiancé. The young man was surprised to learn that Changchan had a fiancé. The girl lowered her eyes. She told Song Yufeng that the marriage contract hadn't been signed yet, and that she shouldn't say that. The girl got upset and walked away. The groom called her by name and went after her. Someone came in and said that the pavilion outside had important information about the barbarians. All the warriors sat and listened intently. Lu Xincheng was aloof and thinking of his own. He couldn't forget that Yao Changchang had a fiancé. All the sects gathered and listened to the announcement. Changchan was sad too. She felt bad that the young man had found out about her fiancé. The girl wanted to break off the engagement. The elder didn't even want to hear about it. Changchan was hurt and wanted to cry. The girl could not explain why she wanted to break off the engagement. The groom felt guilty and said he was ready to change. The situation was awkward. Sister Changchan asked to be forgiven for hiding it. The teacher was like her own mother, and she didn't want her whims to make their relationship with the sect leader worse. That's why the young lady kept it a secret. She had never really liked Brother Song Yufeng. She never felt anything for him, but she tolerated it. She can't lie anymore and hopes to be understood. The girl turned away and walked away. She was very much upset, and she had nothing more to say. The groom yelled for her to stop. The young man said that everything was fine between them. He sincerely did not understand why the girl was acting as if nothing had happened between them. The woman asked the young man to leave the girl alone. She needed to be alone. The groom held a grudge. He decided that the girl would still be his wife. Everyone gathered outside. The elder told everyone to listen to him carefully. He announced that there were approximately 10 million Divine Realm-level disciples here, and there were many other warriors as well. All of them would be divided into 3 squads. After the elder finished his announcement, he told everyone to break into squads and move out. Everyone raised their hands in the air and shouted, "Hurrah!" Everyone was ready to go to battle with the barbarians, and so this great army advanced into the valley at the foot of the mountains. 3 weeks had passed. Everyone was in the same positions. The battlefield was deserted. Only weapons and bones remained. Ne Yuan was very surprised at what he saw. Everyone was amazed when they examined the place. Why are there dead bodies scattered everywhere? The young men looked at the opposing fence across the street. The warrior leader said that the corpses would now become their friends. This is a battlefield, and people die here all the time. If you want to escape, this is your last chance. It was the Daming Kingdom located next to the barbarian territory. This kingdom now represented all the common people. The chief of the warriors introduced himself. His name was General Qi Feng. He was the chief of this base. The general said they called this place the Gateway to Hell. Welcome! He ordered them to disperse to their camps because there was little time to rest. Lu Xincheng realized that the battle was going to be tough. All the sects camped near the battlefield. Guards were posted. Night fell. The young man was awake. He was working on something. Ne Yuan approached the boy. He asked, "Why aren't you sleeping?" "Getting up, it's better to be well rested." Lu Xincheng said he was making a spider puppet. Ne Yuan looked at what the man was doing. It was a strange iron creature. The warrior looked at the master and said, "This is some strange little creature. Does this little guy even know how to fight?" The young man replied that he doesn't know how to fight, but he is extremely useful. He knows how to spy, for example. Ne Yuan asked why Lu Xincheng was silent all evening and didn't talk to anyone. The young man replied that he saw no point in talking. It would be a waste of time. Ne Yuan looked at him, not understanding what the young man meant. Lu Xincheng's eyes were sad. He didn't want to talk. Ne Yuan said that he was luckier than Lu Xincheng. Even though he used to be a bandit, he was still able to blend in, while Lu Xincheng is always alone. Ne Yuan added that barbarians are always hard to fight. It takes about 5 or 6 people per barbarian. Guy added that Lu Xincheng needed to be triple careful. The young man was surprised and inquired why this was so. Ne Yuan replied, "Because the elders have a soft spot for Li Yuzhan and Yao Changchang." Lu Xincheng didn't understand what his partner meant. Ne Yuan said that the young man could be transferred to Yao Changchang's group. They would be safer together. Ne Yan noted that he did not want to see Lu Xincheng die at the hands of the enemy, nor did he want to see him left alone on the battlefield. The young man replied that Ne Yuan should also take care of himself. The young people decided to part and go to rest. The morning is wiser in the evening. No sooner had they separated than the call sounded. Everyone must have been called to a meeting. All this huge army was built in the square. The elders spoke before them. The elder announced that the chief family's personal army had just moved out to face the impending barbarian attack. He said that everyone understood the consequences of such a battle, and there would be no casualties. The elder continued. He and General Qi Feng had devised a plan to avoid unnecessary casualties. The general said everyone here is here for one purpose only, to fight the barbarians. That's what they're going to do. You must show these barbarians what you're worth. We need to lift the spirits of the rest of the soldiers. For this purpose, 100 soldiers were selected and would be divided into 2 attack groups consisting of teams of 5. Each team would be personally assembled by the general. The general was carefully telling how he would select all the participants of this action. He told me who would be in the first group. Then he introduced the participants of the second group. Ne Yuan thought that Lu Xincheng was unlucky. He became on the same team as Li Yuzhan. Chang Chan requested a transfer, asked Lu Xincheng to transfer to the first group. He's a very good warrior and will be easy to fight with.
The general was surprised by the girl's request.
He said that more battles are not a playground. Soldiers must feel great about any team. Warriors must complete tasks and obey the commander without question. The girl wanted to object, but she had nothing to say. Lu Xincheng thanked Chang Chang. He said that the general was right. They were warriors and should obey orders no matter what. The young man assured the girl that he would get along with his team quite well. The general decided to continue his narrative. The commander noted that the barbarians now had only the first shift of the guard. By the third shift, they would be sleepy and tired. And then, both groups would have to invade their territory and destroy as many barbarians as they could. The general warned that they should move quickly, act ruthlessly, and not engage in open confrontation. The young men talked sweetly and advised each other to be more careful on the battlefield. Night has fallen. Wars crept up on the barbarian camp. There was silence in the camp. Everyone was asleep. The barbarian sentries of the third shift were sleepy, just as the general had promised. Lu Xincheng commanded for everyone to attack the barbarians. The planned attack on the enemy camp began. The warriors used all their skill and prowess. The barbarians were frightened and shouted, "The enemies are advancing! The enemies are coming!" The young warrior commanded that everyone disperse quickly to their positions, act carefully and quickly, and leave when reinforcements arrived. The attack on the barbarian camp was very clearly planned. Lu Xincheng said that he would try to catch up with the escaped barbarian. Ne Yuan replied that he had already completed his task. Lu Xincheng confirmed that he was also clear. One of the warriors announced that the barbarians had called for reinforcements. We had to leave quickly. The girl asked, "What about Brother Yuzhan? He's going to stay there alone." The partner replied that it was fine. If he went alone, then he was confident. He will survive. It's time for everyone to leave. Suddenly something seemed strange to the girl. Suddenly she heard suspicious sounds. A fearsome barbarian appeared who wanted to attack the young girl. The warrior saw this and decided to do something to save Tianxiang. He sent his spirit avatar to deal with the barbarian. Tianxiang sat frightened. The warrior suggested that she get up quickly and get out of here. The warrior told Tianxiang to get up and quickly run away. The girl ran as fast as she could. Chan tried to escape. There was genuine terror in her eyes. Some of the warriors said they were surrounded. Barbarians were everywhere. There was nowhere to retreat. Lu Xincheng saw that there were a lot of barbarians. It was unclear where they had come from. The young man realized that he couldn't do without his dragon. But Tianxiang couldn't bear the sight. We have to think of something. One of the warriors decided to attack the barbarians with a mental technique to knock them all out. His brother-in-arms didn't understand what he was supposed to do. He didn't understand why he needed to attack Sister Xiang. The young man told the man to shut up and do as he was told. Our heroes were surrounded by barbarians. They begged for help. The warrior decided to use his mental technique after all. But, to his great regret, he missed. His energy beam missed the barbarian. The villain was about to take the girl prisoner, and that's when the enemy got it. A beam of energy penetrated him. He screamed in pain and couldn't move. The warriors defeated the barbarians, repulsed the attack, and saved Tianxiang. Lu Xinchen shouted that the ring was broken and Tianxiang could run away. The girl rushed towards her camp. Now that the girl was saved, Lu Xincheng could disperse. He started smashing the barbarians left and right, using all his skills. After some time had passed, only the remains of the enemy remained on the battlefield. The barbarians were finally defeated. The young man picked up the remains of the defeated enemies. Lu Xincheng took off his magic ring from his finger and said that they had done well this time. It was time to go back to camp. There was shouting and noise in the camp. A fight was heard. The commander was reprimanding his subordinate. The general scolded the captain who had left his subordinates on the battlefield. He said, "If it wasn't for Lu Xincheng, your group would have lost a bunch of soldiers." Li Yuzhan said that he was willing to accept any punishment. Lu Xincheng decided to help his friend. He told the general that Li Yuzhan had chased a messenger calling for reinforcements. If it wasn't for him, reinforcements would have come, and it would have been even harder on all of us. The general summarized the results. He said that the first group had done well. They had destroyed a bunch of barbarians and returned almost without losses. In the second group, however, the commander had abandoned his men. he would be punished for that. The general said that victory is often only achieved through joint efforts. The warrior added that Lu Xincheng's elemental technique is still weak, but his bravery and dedication are certainly at an all-time high. As a result, the general appointed the young man as the commander of the second group. The boy thanked the general. Li Yuzhan said that there was no need to stand up for him. Lu Xincheng replied that right now they had one enemy, the barbarians, and they would leave their personal squabbles for later. The young men stood in silence for a moment and dispersed. Li Yuzhan was a little offended. Lu Xincheng, on the other hand, didn't want to do what was best. The warrior sat down by the fire. He wanted to rest for a while. He was thirsty. Yo Changchang snatched the vial of liquid from his hands and decided to take a small sip. The young man only had time to shout out that it was alcohol. The girl seemed to really like the drink. She winked playfully. Changchang asked, "Aren't girls allowed to drink alcohol?" Beauty said that she had come to congratulate Xincheng on his promotion, although she already knew that he wouldn't stay in the shadows for long. That's just the way he is. Yo Changchang asked the young man to be less heroic on the battlefield, and added, "Things can always turn out wrong in your favor very quickly." The girl confirmed that it wasn't the first time the young man had fought alone. The guy was a little sad. He thanked Changchan for the advice, but said better she let her fiancé talk about it. They sat alone by the fire at night for a long time. The girl said as she broke off the engagement, "There will be no wedding, it was a mistake!" Lu Xincheng asked why she did it. The girl was silent. She didn't know how to tell him all this. Lu Xincheng thought about how quickly things could change in life. The young people sat by the fire for a long time. They did not want to leave. The full moon illuminated their silhouettes. The ex-fiancé was watching the young couple. A cunning plan was brewing in his mind. He decided to deal with Lu Xincheng. After all, he was the reason why his fiancée broke off the engagement. It was morning in the camp. Everyone was still resting after the night's fighting. Waking up later than usual, the soldiers decided to have breakfast. A messenger came running and announced that General Qi Feng and his army had returned. Somebody said the general managed to push the barbarians back 30 meters. I guess they'll have to move camp. There were a lot of wounded people. Lu Xincheng thought, no matter how strong you are on the battlefield, your life is still in the hands of fate. The young man got ready to leave. Na Yuan asked him where he was going. Yao Changchang asked Lu Xincheng why he is here, what he is doing here. The general calls the commanders of both attack groups to him. The young man showed the girl the ring. She asked, "What kind of ring is that? A storage ring?" Lu Xincheng said it was his treasure. "There's a spider puppet, 2 eagles, and another ring inside." The guy added that on the battlefield, situations change quickly, and this ring will help the girl if things don't go according to plan. The girl replied that the young man was weaker than she was. Therefore, it might be better if he kept it all for himself. Lu Xincheng said that he could take care of himself. Suddenly, the guy noticed they were being followed. The young man added that he's also giving it all back. The girl thought it was all very sweet and touching. The general was holding a meeting. He said that thanks to the last raid of the 2 attack teams, the barbarians' morale had dropped a lot. As a result, they had pushed back the barbarians' front line by 30 meters. The general said everyone was convinced that war could be brutal. It was the same 6 years ago. The general added that they must fight so that the horrors that happened 6 years ago will never happen again. The general added that he would not forcibly send warriors on missions too dangerous. He would give them a choice. Those who are afraid can leave. Those who are not afraid will personally receive a mission from the general. Lu Xincheng knew, in order to return to his world, he must end up in the Tinyu Pavilion. But to be there, he must destroy the barbarians. The general kept handing out orders left and right. The commander-in-chief gathered before him the bravest and bravest warriors. He said they would not regret their choice. The general asked why they had decided to go on such a dangerous mission. Lu Xincheng replied that if he was sure it was impossible, he wouldn't have fought. He might die on the mission, but he might also survive. The general said he was familiar with the surname Lu. "Who, young man, is Lu Tiantian to you?" The young man replied that it was his father. The general said he had heard of his father's exploits and the fate of his family. The general added that except for a couple of servants and the heir to the family, all had died in the war with the barbarians. The general added that he had not expected the heir to survive and grow up to be such a hero. Now the general said they needed a new captain for their squad. The captain must be not only brave, but also willing to sacrifice himself for the team. He asked who would be willing to be captain of the team. No one wanted to take on that role. Yao Changchang volunteered to be the captain. Lu Xincheng also said that he is willing to be the team captain. The general praised the lad for his bravery. The commander said he would now introduce another member of the small unit. This is the Holy Tsetenshu. The saint saw the entire squad and asked, "What is Lu Xincheng doing here?" The general was surprised that they knew each other. The general had laid out on the table an accurate map of the area. It was the most accurate navigator of those times. The commander said that, according to their data, the barbarian king's favorite concubine would be here in 2 days. He pointed to a place on the map with his finger. The general said that the goal of the mission was to destroy this concubine. The young men wondered. Why kill a concubine? What did she do wrong? Nayin said that this mission doesn't need a whole squad. The barbarian king will take revenge for the concubine's death. I don't know why they would do that. The warlord confirmed that the problem was not with the concubine herself, but on her. The barbarian king had always been cunning and prudent. That was why it was always difficult to uncover his plan completely. The king always divided the plan into parts. The general added that even now the most important part of the plan was on this concubine's back. A squad of brave warriors moved to fulfill their secret mission. 2 days passed. Our warriors crept stealthily to the conditional place. It was the summer camp of the barbarians. The sentries were at their post. The towers were set up all around the perimeter. Lu Xincheng reported to his superior that they were already in place. Yao Changchang said, "We have to be careful. There's something wrong here." There were a lot of girls outside the fence picking berries in their bows. "I wonder which one is the king's favorite concubine?" Lu Xincheng said that there were many barbarian women there, and that they were not the king's concubines. The girl asked why he thought that. Lu Xincheng said that it was his intuition that told him. The girl asked, "What do we do now? Where do we look for the object?" The young man turned everyone's attention to the guards. Not a single one of them was looking into the camp. If the king's concubine was there, they would make sure nothing happened to her. The guards are looking at the surroundings, so there are only servants in the camp right now. Li Yuzhan said that they would have to wait for the king's concubine to arrive. But at this distance, they wouldn't be able to see anything. Lu Xincheng decided that was why they should go to the camp. Everyone wondered, why do they have to go to camp? That's crazy. Lu Xincheng suggested hiding under the tower the archer was standing on and keeping an eye on the situation. Changchan's ex-fiancé said it was a very bad idea. Going straight into the enemy camp is suicide. Even if they sneak in, there's no place to hide. They will definitely be spotted. Lu Xincheng proposed a bet. If he hides everyone under the tower, then everyone lost. If he can't do it, then he's a loser. The girl said if he wanted to bet, let him bet. The young man asked what they themselves were willing to bet. The girl said if he pulls it off, she will start calling him Big Brother. The brother said he spent half of all his savings on his silver knuckle. If the plan works, the knuckle will be Lu Xincheng's. Li Yuzhan said that he would give Lu Xincheng a chance to end their feud. After they deal with the barbarians, they can have a fight. And Li Yuzhan will give Lu Xincheng the opportunity to give Lu Xincheng 3 strikes. Li Yuzhan asked, "What will Lu Xincheng's rate be? Of the valuable things he has, he only has his life." Lu Xincheng said, then he bet his life. Yao Changchang looked very carefully at the young man. The warrior said that since everything was agreed upon, Lu Xincheng could show them what he could do. The young man told them to take their time. He needed to get ready. After that, he took out his new invention. Everyone realized that the boy had a clear plan. It was a spider puppet. Everyone was stunned when they saw what Lu Xincheng was holding. Yao Changchang said that this puppet stinks a lot. Maybe you want to distract them with the smell. Do you even have a concrete plan? Lu Xincheng said that he had a great plan. When he makes a noise to distract the guards, everyone should run under the archer's tower. The warrior told him that even if they ran there, they would still be seen and destroyed. Lu Xincheng continued with his plan that they would have about half a minute to run to the tower, dig a hole under it, and hide in it. His opponent answered him that it was impossible. "How can you dig a hole in half a minute so that everyone can fit in it? This plan sounds like nonsense." Yao Changchang said that she disagreed. "It's possible to pull this off if you develop your elemental techniques." The young man wanted to object, but he had nothing to say. The girl said she could use her elemental technique very well and could handle the task. Lu Xincheng said that it was time to start. The young man launched his battle spider puppet into the barbarian camp. That was the signal for the operation to begin. The guard on the watchtower didn't suspect anything yet. Suddenly, a spider puppet came crashing down on him. The guard's eyes widened in surprise. He screamed with fear. He thought it was a poisonous spider, and now he could not survive. He would die in wild agony. The guard began to call for help. Our warriors looked at the camp and saw the panic brewing there. They were going to act. Lu Xincheng continued to proceed with his plan. He summoned his battle eagle and jumped on it. The young man shouted for everyone to act according to the plan. He began to do his part of the task. The guard saw the eagle and shouted that the enemy was in the air. He called all the archers to their positions. The archers began to shoot at the warbird, but the arrows did not hit the target. At the same time, Yao Changchang gave the command to the group that it was time to move out. All the barbarian warriors looked up at the eagle. They could not see what was happening on the ground. Our warriors were amazed at how long the eagle could dodge arrows. Lu Xincheng executed his part of the plan perfectly. Yao Changchang told her friend that it was time to act. The girl was a little confused. The girl gathered all her willpower and, using her skills, dug a large hole in 30 seconds. Our warriors managed to hide in that hole. The young man thought they had done well. It was a well-coordinated work of the whole team. Changchan and the rest of the group watched from the pit as the eagle continued to dodge the arrows. Lu Xincheng, flying over the barbarian camp once again, thought that everything had gone well and everyone had managed to